I believe so, yes, she should be here.
How much time do we have? 1 minute?
We have, it's gonna be 4:30 right now, 2 seconds, right now.
It is 4:30. Friends, we are here for the San Clemente City Council meeting,
Don't-
April 15th, 2025, at 4:30 PM. Motion to move into closed session.
Mr. Mayor,
I'm
staff
sorry.
would like to request if the council would indulge us to make a change to the agenda and take the closed session item B before A.
I guess we can discuss that in closed session, or does it have to be decided now?
It would be appropriate to let the public know which one we're taking first.
Okay, well, the public's not here and we'll be in closed session. Do you really need that determination now? Do we have any public comments, Madam Clerk?
I can report out later.
Pardon me?
I can report out later.
Well, any council objection to switching the order? I don't see any need for it, but any objection?
No objection.
Objection? Okay, then we'll move the council. We'll move the scheduling of items B first and then A
Thank you so
in the
much.
closed session.
And Mayor, just
Okay.
one more formality. My apologies. I just need to read, because it's real property negotiations, I just need to read the address. Discussion, this is closed session, item B, conference with real property negotiators, discussion concerning real property transactions in compliance with Government Code Section 54956.8 regarding APN, there is none, property potential lease of city right-of-way located between 242 Avenida Del Mar and 218 Avenida Del Mar for the farmers market. City negotiators, Andy Hall, city manager, and Samantha Wiley, Beaches, Parks, and Recreation Director. Parties, negotiating parties, introduction, unlimited, under negotiation, price and terms for potential lease for the farmers market.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is moved and second. All in favor, say aye. We are in closed session. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's open the meeting of the April 15th, 2025 meeting of the City Council. It's 5:30 PM, and we're going to call this meeting to order. Before we begin, let's have the invocation by Ryder Stymie. Come right ahead, sir. You'll be giving our invocation.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity that we have to meet here in the City Council meeting of the beautiful city of San Clemente. We're grateful for our community. We're grateful for our country, the freedoms and liberties that we enjoy. We're grateful for our military, the men and women who serve and protect us. We're grateful for our leaders throughout our nation and here in San Clemente. We're particularly grateful this Easter week for our Savior Jesus Christ and for the opportunity that we have to reflect on the sacrifice that he made for us. We ask that the Spirit will be with us throughout this meeting, and that as the council conducts the affairs of the city, that the Spirit might lead and guide them, help them to make good decisions that are in the best interests of the community of San Clemente. We're humbled by all the many blessings that we have and enjoy, and say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Mr. Leffler, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance on this tax day?
Absolutely. Hand over heart. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let the record show that all members are present. Our first item on the agenda is a special presentation, and I am pleased to give this presentation. I want to invite John Krieger, if he would, Kiger, to come forward. And gentlemen, if you'd join me down below. This is the gentleman that, because of his awareness and promptness, were able to apprehend the person that made the assault with a deadly weapon against one of our police officers a few weeks ago. And this was the gentleman that identified him, notified the authorities, and he was captured. So, sir, if you'd come forward, I'd like to give you a presentation. Mr. Kiger, you're being recognized for your exceptional observation and swift action recently. And Captain Chevalier, thank you for joining us. Whereas the City Council wishes to formally recognize Mr. John Kiger for his outstanding actions and keen awareness in identifying a suspect involved in an act of violence against one of our deputy sheriffs. And whereas Mr. Kiger's ability to remain calm and under pressure, coupled with his quick thinking, exemplifies the highest standards of community involvement and cooperation with law enforcement. His actions directly supported the Orange County Sheriff's Department in making contact and taking the suspect into custody. Now, therefore, I, Steve Knobloch, Mayor of the City of San Clemente, acting on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of San Clemente, thank you, Mr. Kiger, for your exemplary service and commitment to the safety, and extend our sincere appreciation to you for the contribution that you've made to our city. Thank you, sir, and blessings. Thank you. And Mr. Kiger, if you'd like to invite your family to come up and take a picture with us.
This is my San Clemente family, my wife Diane, my daughter Tiffany, grandson Hux, and granddaughter Stone.
Oh, look at this guy.
John, would you like to say a few words? You don't have to, but if you'd like to.
No, thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Okay, the next item on the agenda is oral comments. Madam Clerk, do we have any comments?
We do. I will read the names of the first several speakers. Dr. James H. Wilson, followed by Amanda Quintanilla, followed by Patrick Brashear, followed by Pamela Brashear. Dr. Wilson?
If you could pull the microphone towards you. I'm sorry, I pulled it down the other way. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Jim Wilson. I've been a resident of San Clemente since 1988, and after selling a larger company, I started Joe Sciences, Inc. in San Clemente in 2003, and then it was involved in basic research for tracking ships at sea, and we've sort of gone to the moon. You can see from the company history there. We started out tracking actually pangas in 2008 using the Advanced Correlator Navy Data Fusion Engine. Our motto is no single sensor is a silver bullet. The data fusion of all sensors coherently to detect, track, and classify targets is the silver bullet. And so we went away from that, and now we've going into 3 Navy programs of record now. With Acorn, we've been in the Western Pacific detecting, tracking, and classifying and identifying targets of interest over there near China. And so now what I want to do today is just quickly introduce the Advanced Correlator Navy. If we could go to the next view graph. Before everybody falls asleep, that we have lots of technology developed, and it's well tested, 2 decades of testing, and I really want to get to the next slide and show you why the pangas are a dark contact. They're MCON silent. They go fast. They generally congregate at the Coronado Islands around midnight, and then they I'm trying to think of some nice words. They go very fast, 30 miles an hour up on either side of San Clemente Island. And generally, Megan, if you could do one click. Generally, this was applied to detecting and tracking pirate ships. But think of it as the SoCal tracking pangas. Next one, please. And we have some intelligence on where they are. Next one, please. And then we think of this unmanned airplane with a radar as a radar on top of San Clemente Island at a high point. Okay, radar detects everything. It's vital, but you can't tell the dark targets from just radar alone. Next one, please. And so what we do is we send a bunch of contacts through satellite in this case. Next one, please. And next one, please. Back to a home base, there's Advanced Correlator Navy. That's maybe in the San Diego Coast Guard Joint Harbor Operations Center or in 3rd Fleet. And next one, please.
Thank you, sir. We have limited time, but very interesting presentation. And we'll be discussing this later on in the evening under our council
That's
report.
my,
Thank you, sir.
The gong is sit down.
Thank you very much. Next speaker?
Amanda Quintanilla, followed by Patrick Brashear, followed by Pamela Brashear, followed by Reva Buck.
Good afternoon, council members. I was able to listen to the California Coastal Commission, and I attended the OCTA Board of Directors meeting this week. And what Dr. Kate Huckelbridge, Executive Director, stated at the Wednesday meeting, she stated, "We did receive an emergency CDP application early last week from OCTA. That application covers 4 areas along the track that the OCTA has identified as vulnerable. The work that was proposed in the emergency CDP application is the same work generally that we have regular CDP applications and have been reviewing since last year. So we are familiar with the work that they are proposing and have been working towards regular CDPs for that proposed work." She further stated these are 4 areas, as I mentioned, areas 1 and 2. The concern there is flooding from wave action from the beach side of the tracks for areas 1 and 2. Staff has reviewed, and we do agree that there is an emergency at this location. We are currently working on an emergency permit that would authorize rebuilding an existing pre-coastal revetment that's in this location, and importantly, adding sand on the beach in front of that revetment. So as I mentioned, we are working on that permit, and it should be out this week, and we will likely be reporting it next month. Area 3, the concern here is the potential for a landslide on the land side of the tracks. So not a little different from the other areas. On this area, we have been working with OCTA on an expedited permitting pathway for the proposed catchment wall and rebuilding of the coastal trail in this location. We had been awaiting information from OCTA so that we can move forward with that CDP. And now we have just received that information as the emergency CDP application. We believe at this point that the most appropriate, efficient, and expeditious path is to authorize the bulk of the permanent development as part of an expedited regular CDP that we intend to bring to you for consideration next month. We are planning to authorize the initial prep work. And she continues, but it's good to know that the OCT is working with the California Coastal Commission for a regular CDP. I know when speaking to someone that it would have been wonderful if it was an emergency waiver, just like what we had for North Beach. However, the Coastal Commission did approve 250,000 cubic yards of sand at between areas 1 and 2. Unfortunately, they did not deem Area 4 as an emergency, and so they're still working with the OCTA on that. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Patrick Brashear, followed by Pamela Brashear, followed by Reva Buck, followed by Paul Buck.
Hi, I'm not Patrick Brashear. I'm Pam. My dad is dealing with an emergency at the local church, and so he'll be back here in a minute, and hopefully by the time I'm done, he'll be ready to go. Good evening, council members. My name is Pam Brashear, and I'm a San Clemente resident, a mother of 2 San Clemente high school students, and a daughter myself. My parents are retired here and live near me in town. We're 3 generations deep in San Clemente, and we love this community. It's a place people save up all year just to visit on vacation, and we're really lucky to get to call it home. On April 5th, something powerful happened. According to news reports, nearly 3,000 people showed up for the Hands Off rally right here in San Clemente. In a town often seen as quiet or conservative, that turnout sends a clear message. We're not okay with the direction things are heading. As a mom, I'm especially concerned. My daughters will be of voting age soon. The decisions being made right now by the presidential administration and leaders at every level will shape their rights, freedoms, and their futures. And that includes local decisions, because what happens in this room doesn't just stay in this room. Local policy impacts our safety, our schools, our values, and the example we set for the next generation. I'm raising my girls to be informed, vocal, and brave, and so I'm here tonight so that they know when something matters, you show up, even if it's uncomfortable. We may not all agree politically, especially in this town, but that rally showed me something really important. San Clemente is full of people who care deeply, and more of us are paying attention, getting involved, and making our voices heard. We love this town, we're invested in its future, and we expect our voices to matter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Can I speak on behalf of my husband, who,
Did you put a card in?
Pat Brashear, and I'm Nancy Brashear.
You can speak on behalf of your husband. You have 3 minutes. Come right ahead.
Sorry, he's taking care of an electrical problem.
No problem.
My name is Nancy Brashear, and my husband Pat and I have lived here for 10 years in San Clemente. Recently, our daughter moved here with our 2 granddaughters at San Clemente High. And when the rally happened, the Hands Off rally happened, my husband and I participated by driving through the rally and waving at the people on the side to support them. And it was actually a very joyful event. We felt very uplifted by it. Over 3,000 people peacefully gathered in our town, including residents of all ages. And this turnout said something important. People are paying attention, they are engaged, and they care deeply about what's happening, not just locally, but also nationally. As a parent and grandparent, I believe it's important that younger generations know their voices matter, and I believe local decisions, especially the ones made in this room, are important. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker?
Reva Buck, followed by Paul Buck, followed by Lois McNichol, followed by George Gregory. Reva?
Good evening. I'm Reva Buck, and I live on Calle Felicidad. I'm here to update the council on Broadmoor's actions since the March 18th meeting regarding their failure to enforce the 17-foot tree height limit on Delicata. At that meeting, despite the city's June 26 of 2024 demand letter, Broadmoor reported issuing only 2 compliance letters and offered no details. On that basis, the council deferred, assuming enforcement authority, and granted Broadmoor an additional 6 months to demonstrate good faith, effectively requiring Felicidad to engage in a drawn-out, unilateral process of Broadmoor's own design. 7 Felicidad homeowners have now completed, and 1 has just initiated Broadmoor's process, submitting online complaints with supporting photos and allowing 3 representatives, 1 from Compass and 2 from Broadmoor, into or onto our properties to take additional photos, despite violations being clearly visible from Delicata. To date, none of these homeowners have received a follow-up communication or observed any abatement efforts. The 3 representatives who visited our home last week were cordial. When asked about next steps, they explained that they are following the same multi-step process they use for Broadmoor. First, a violation notice, followed 30 days later by a hearing invitation. If still unresolved, the process moves to internal dispute resolution, then alternative dispute resolution, potentially dragging on for 12 to over 24 months. However, as the March 18th staff report clarified, Broadmoor's CC&Rs do not require internal remedies such as IDR and ADR. More importantly, the council directed that violations be abated on their face in an expedited manner and without Broadmoor's subjective assessment. In March, Broadmoor admitted that some of its homeowners refused to comply unless others do so first, underscoring its inability or unwillingness to enforce its own rules. Even more concerning, Broadmoor stated it cannot prioritize Delicata enforcement due to internal noncompliance. Broadmoor expressed concern that some trees over 17 feet may not be obstructing views and should not be cut or trimmed. This is not possible on Delicata. Every property on Delicata sits directly below a Felicidad home. We respectfully ask, when violations remain unabated on September 16th, with Felicidad's long-standing concessions, will they finally meet the threshold for the city to assume immediate enforcement? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker?
Paul Buck, followed by Lois McNichol, followed by George Gregory.
Good evening, gentlemen. Hope you all got your taxes filed today. I'm Paul Buck. I've lived on Calle Felicidad for 40 years. First, I'd like to thank you all for standing firm on the 17-foot height limit for the trees on Delicata. I'm sure you all hope that this issue will resolve itself without further city involvement. I do too. But unfortunately, based on recent events, I believe Broadmoor is stalling in hopes of outlasting both this council and the resolve of the Felicidad homeowners. Here's why. It's been almost 10 months since the city issued a demand letter on June 26th. Since that time, not a single offending palm on Delicata has been trimmed to the 17-foot level or removed. Rather than enforcing their height rules, Broadmoor created this long drawn-out process designed to replace objective standards with subjective assessments. Despite the council recognizing the failure to enforce Broadmoor, continues to delay, and the council has allowed this by extending the time limit to September 16th. When Broadmoor representatives visited our home, they took photos using the macro wide-angle Apple iPhone setting, which distorts the image and makes obstructions look very distant. This again attempts to substitute a vague visual impression for the clear 17-foot rule. At the March 18th meeting, some Delicata homeowners deflected by criticizing the Felicidad slope maintenance. As a good neighbor, I took this seriously and hired Rod's Tree Service, who you're familiar with, to do the cleanup at my considerable expense. But here's what's important. The city granted Broadmoor an easement in 1976 to maintain an 8-foot wide parkway along the entirety of the easterly side of Delicata. This maintenance responsibility has been largely ignored for decades. Tonight I submitted some supporting documentation which address this issue, and I hope the attorneys especially will get a chance to see it. It includes City Council minutes from March 75 and February 76, supplemental CCNRs, as well as the grant deed that was filed on February 6, 76. While Broadmoor continues to resist compliance and the city and Felicidad neighbors continue to wait, we respectfully ask, if violations are not abated by September 16th, will the city finally act firmly and expeditiously? As San Clemente residents, we trust that the city will uphold its obligation and enforce its conditions of approval. Thank you very much for your consideration. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Lois McNichol, followed by George Gregory.
Wait, one second, Laura, on the one thing. I also attended the event on April 5th, and I would dispute the accuracy of 3,000 people being there. And I would also state that in their interactions with other people, that they were neither joyous or peaceful. So, but that's not what I'm here for. Go ahead, Laura. Okay, as you know, I'm a runner, and I run along the beach. This is what I see in the morning when I run. And this is not the beautiful San Clemente that everyone pays their property taxes for. And everybody who talks about, oh, the rocks are gone, oh, there are no more boulders over here, the revetments are still there. The rocks are always there. And why did we have a railway next to a high-pressure gas line? This is more stuff that was just left there. Now, that was there for 6 months before it was finally picked up. There are piles of rock for at least 2 miles. And this is the wonderful water cleaning project that I stopped to take a few pictures of that exists on Poche Beach. So, and that was the great dredge that they had. So they had to have a huge barge out there in order to dredge sand on the beach. Makes no sense to me. So again, more rocks. So there are nothing but boulders, and they continue to bring more, and they want more. So I want to know why we are continuing to allow boulders onto the beach when they have a direct impact on sand erosion. And that is something that we're all supposed to care about here. We all want to pay more money for sand. But sand replenishment, the way they want to do it, is like putting sand into a hole with a bucket. Temporary and expensive.
Thank you.
George Gregory.
Thank you. Council, George Gregory, North Beach, ex-criminal. Speaking of criminals, I'm very upset with what's going on at North Beach. You guys give a permit for a church to conduct services down there at the beach that attract the homeless. They directly fund them with clothing and food. They wait around for days for this. Now one of these people have allegedly, and it's not allegedly because it's known, stabbed an officer. I'm caught in the middle between the city and the city. You're funding an outreach program that you're propagating the need for by allowing the church to conduct these services on the beach. Church and state should be separated. You should pull their permit. I can't have a swap meet down there, but they can bring the homeless to my beach, endanger me and my tenants and my neighbors and my friends and my family? I'm very, very upset. Matter of fact, I kind of wonder if you guys all came in the same car, a little clown car, because you're playing both ends to the middle, and I'm in the middle. Our citizens, our constituents are in the middle of this. And it's a blight on our community. It's not fair, and it's expensive. I would like to see the city manager retrain Troy and Carly so they have a job when this gets ended, because I'm sure you're going to take action. You're going to take the right action. I'm sure of it. Stop it. You can't let this go on. We're playing, you're funding one side and you're allowing the other side, and you're squishing us in the middle. And it's not fair. When do I get to protect myself? When do I get to protect my property values and my health and safety, along with my neighbors and friends? Think about it. This goes on. I have a Facebook page with a guy assaulting me. You know, I don't know what happened to him, but I think these people should be taken straight away to Santa Ana, to the jail. And if we don't have a bus to haul them all over there, then drag them. Please stop it. Thank you.
Next speaker.
That was our final speaker.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion waiving the reading in full of all resolutions and ordinances?
So moved. I'll second.
We have motion is second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Do we have, anybody have any consideration of agenda items that require immediate action? Hearing none, let's go on to item 5, closed session report. City Attorney, do you have anything to report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council met in closed session on item B. There was direction given, no reportable action. The council met in closed session on item A. There was direction given and no reportable action. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff communications. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything for us?
Dave's got a couple of mine.
Good evening. Dave Riebensdorf, Public Works Director with the City of San Clemente. Just a couple brief comments of special events that we have coming up. On April 26th at 11 a.m. will be the grand opening for the pump track. That will be pretty exciting. And in addition to that, the city is also celebrating Earth Day with a beach cleanup and educational fair. There'll be free giveaways, informational booths and displays, fun and games for the entire family. And there will also be free burritos for the first 100 that sign up from Fisherman's. So you can go to the city's website and find out information on those events. And that's all I have for the council this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other communications, Mr. City Manager? Okay, the next item is public hearings.
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Don't we usually have a report on it?
We do, but it's at the end of the agenda this evening.
Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I put it on the end of the agenda. We were trying to get through the meetings, and they were taking up a lot of time at the beginning, so that was the reason. Public hearings, item number 7. This is a public hearing on the weed abatement, the order and abatement nuisance by having weeds, rubbish, and refuse removed from vacant and unoccupied developed properties, finding the project categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. This public hearing is open. And do we have any comments from the public
We
before?
do have one speaker.
Let's hear from that speaker then.
Tom Streeter?
Good evening, gentlemen. I strongly support the weed abatement program. It needs to be expanded, if anything. As we learned from Pacific Palisades, if you don't have a good defensible space around your house, it burns up. I would therefore like to have you guys at least refer to the Public Safety Committee the possibility of upgrading our ordinance on weed abatement and say, we don't want creosote bushes in your front yard either. and we would like to have our contractor wander by once a year and see if there's any creosote bushes in your front yard and take it out as though it were a weed or trash. This is something not to be done this year. It should be phased in over 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. But we need to start addressing this. We need to write a city ordinance on you cannot have undefended spaces around your house, and we will inspect you every spring. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, you've seen the public, the agenda item. Do we need a staff report on this? And
I don't think we do. I do have a comment or two, and maybe it.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Let me turn my mic on. I had a conversation with the city manager when this item came up. Homeowner associations are required to clear that first 100 feet, I believe it is. But we have a lot of open space where the homeowner associations actually want that cleaned up, but don't know exactly how to do it. And I think the city could step in and may be able to step in and clear some of that at a cost through goats or in some of that area, because that's the only way you can clean it up, because it's a natural remedy. Maybe what I would ask at the end, I'll put it on the agenda to have our city manager take a look if there's any way that we can clear require more than the 100 feet be cleared, a little bit more in conjunction with the homeowners association paying for some of that, and see if we can create a program. That's just my independent thoughts on that, and I think maybe there's something that can be worked out with all those associations to make it more safe for their communities.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And this item here before us is just the existing
Program,
lots that
yes.
need attention. But to improve the whole program, I think we're going to have to agendize that
We will
discussion,
have to
because,
agendize it, yeah.
So maybe after this,
Yes,
at the end, maybe we can agendize that
Yeah,
concept.
no,
I think it needs attention.
Yeah.
And it would be beneficial for our community.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do we need to report on anything on this program? If not, I'll entertain a motion if there is one.
I'll move
Do I need to close the public hearing before the motion? Yes, please. Public hearing is closed.
I'll move the agenda item.
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. And thank you for that input. I think that's going to be very helpful to our community.
Well, it's just you've had that program of cleaning up, and there's been the GO program. Maybe we look at it strategically.
Absolutely. Okay, the next item is item 8A, Offshore Sand Investigation Project Status Update. This is an important one. Come right ahead. Mr. City Manager, do you want to introduce our...
My name's Greg Herron, and I'm with Coastal Frontiers, and as you said, I'm going to give you a brief update on the status of your offshore sand source investigation. If I can get it to advance. Are we up yet, Megan, or? Okay. So I'll briefly reacquaint you with your project and your objectives for this. Talk about the candidate borrow sites that we've identified, outline the exploration plan that we've developed in concert with city staff, finish with schedule and next steps. So again, we're looking for sand offshore as close to the city as possible to support beach nourishment and resilience efforts in the city itself. When we start looking for candidate sites, we have a couple of key parameters and constraints. First, we want to be between water depths of about 35 and 60 feet, so that's outside the depth of closure or outside the active littoral zone of sand movement. And 60 feet is about where you're getting to the edge of the practical, economic, and technical limit for dredging for U.S. flagged vessels. We want to find a deposit of sediment that's at least 10 feet thick, so the dredge has the ability to dig down into a good deposit of sand. We can't simply vacuum sand off of a thin veneer of sand off of a rock substrate. And then, of course, we want to match the sand that we have on San Clemente beaches. The Corps of Engineers work that they did for you says that those beaches are between about 0.12 and 0.31 millimeters, the median grain size. For reference, the sand that came from Surfside Sunset in the fall was about 0.3 millimeters. The sand that came from the Santa Ana River and was placed on North Beach in the fall, I think, was about 0.5 millimeters, so a little bit coarser. So we want to find sand on the coarser end of that range. So we're going to investigate several of these candidate borrow sites with a VibraCore program. So effectively sampling the sand at these sites with a 4-inch diameter barrel that's 20 feet long, driven into the sea bottom. We retrieve the core from that sample and evaluate the sediment physically and chemically within that core, and there's usually several stratas or layers of sand. We have a 7-day program budgeted for that. We can get about 5 cores a day. We're going to start at sites nearest the city of San Clemente, and we're going to do this in a way where we start with a screening level investigation where we're going to try to get 2 or 3 cores at each of these sites nearest the city, and then based on real-time evaluation of those, go back and fully expand upon the best sites that we find. Or alternatively, if none of them are showing to be promising, we'll move on to a site that we haven't looked at yet. And so for the screening level, about 2 or 3 cores per site. But if we find a good site, I'd like to get about 10 cores. In the rule of thumb, 1 core per 10 acres. If we get about 100 acres, a 10-foot dredge cut, that's going to be about 1.5, 1.6 million cubic yards potential yield of sand. So here are the candidate borrow sites that we've identified. There's 13 of them from Surfside Sunset to Santa Margarita River. So we're effectively bracketing the area where you've already received sand from. So Surfside Sunset was where you got the majority of your sand for the core project this fall. They also started down at the Santa Margarita River site and didn't have good luck down there. So now we're looking at sites also closer in the middle. We also looked at sites in Corona del Mar and Laguna Beach because we had some historical information. We dismissed those pretty quickly because they're now in marine protected areas. The sand wasn't looking real promising anyway, so it's not a big loss. So we've looked at these with available information, geophysical, geology, geotechnical information, prior investigations, and made a judgment on the probability of finding suitable sand at these sites. And that's the color codes that you see there, ranging from high to very low. A place like Surfside Sunset, which has about a 60-year dredging history, pretty good chance we're going to find good sand there. And then there's other places, unfortunately, nearest the city itself, they're probably in the low to very low probability of finding sand. However, if we do find sand there, it's a great payoff because it greatly reduces the cost of a beach nourishment project. So that's why we're focusing on sites as close to the city as possible. So here's another look at those same 11 sites going from north to south. The distance from the San Clemente Pier in nautical miles, and you can see the pier is actually falling between the North Beach and the San Clemente South site. And then the anticipated grain size that we're hoping or expecting to come out of those sites based on existing information. And you can see that Surfside Sunset up about 0.3. Some of the stuff closer to San Clemente much finer, some of it less than 1/10 of a millimeter, which is going to be too fine for beach nourishment. And then we have a couple that are unknown because we just don't have any physical samples down there yet, but we have some geophysical data that suggests there's a layer of sand that might produce good material. So I have a lot of the technical exhibits at the end of this. If anybody has questions about a specific site, we can get into it, and it's also laid out in the report that the city has now. So here's the basic exploration plan that we've come up in concert with city staff. So it's effectively get the vessel down to Dana Point. In the first 4 days, we're going to do that screening level investigation. So Dana Point, Doheny, North Beach, San Clemente South, just around the corner at San Mateo, and San Onofre. We'll be evaluating those cores, that sand, as it comes up onto the deck of the boat, every one of them. And we're not going to have the actual grain size test or the chemical results, but we're going to have a pretty good idea of what type of sand's coming up. So we're going to evaluate that in the field and make the decision from there, which is the tan-colored box, of what we find. So for example, we might get one promising site, let's say it's San Mateo. We're going to sit on that site for 2 days, try to get 10 or more cores. And then for the 7th and final day, either continue working at San Mateo or move down to Camp Pendleton, a site called Pulgas, which we haven't even done screening yet on yet. Alternative, maybe we find 2 good sites, and we'll continue working out those sites, trying to get at least 10 cores in a site that we think is promising. The hard part's going to be if none of those sites turn out to be promising, at which point we'll just move down to the next potential site, would probably be at Camp Pendleton, Pulgas. Sit on that for a day, get about 5 cores, make a decision from there to either stay at Pulgas or pick up the whole operation and move to the North Orange County to like Santa Ana River. So again, starting at San Clemente, working out, and this approach is sort of a balance between the desire to really focus on the San Clemente area itself with the realization that we think there's a low probability that we're going to find that sand close by. So it's a balance to do this investigation. So here again, a closer view how we're going to start. Dana Point, day 1. Dehaney, probably day 1 also, working our way from North Beach, San Clemente South, San Mateo, and San Onofre, Agra. Picking the best site and focusing there. Worst case scenario, we don't have any good sites, and we're probably moving up to the North Orange County area. Here's the schedule. We've completed the evaluation of the receiver beaches. That's the characterizing the grain size that we're trying to match. We just went through the candidate borrow sites in the exploration plan. All of that information is in a report that the city has now. So if you're interested in a specific site and why we called it the potential of high, medium, or low, it's all laid out in that report. It talks about all the background data. So now we're at the point of executing the field exploration plan. We have 2 permitting items to get in place. First is the California State Lands Commission Geologic Sampling Permit. We've been engaged with them since January, and we're assured that we're going to be on the June agenda, and there's no reason to believe that we won't receive the permit at that time. Second is developing the sampling and analysis plan that will be reviewed and approved by the Southern California Dredge Materials Management team. And so that's basically so that we're in agreement on how we're going to sample this, how we're going to test it and evaluate it, because they're going to play a big role in determining whether or not that site can be used for beach nourishment. So we want to be on the same page with those guys going forward. It's going to make it easier down the road. So once those permits are in place, all that should be in place by the end of June. We'll do the VibraCore program. We're targeting August, September. We want a period where we think it's going to be historically as calm as possible. So we want to be on site coring, not sitting on the beach or in a harbor waiting for weather to pass and incurring weather downtime. The testing and the sampling and analysis report will be conducted right on the heels of that, probably some overlap in fact. And then we'll assess the compatibility of that sand, compile all the information in a final report, get it to you by the end of the year. But we'll have a pretty good idea if we've struck gold, so to speak, within days of completing the program in August or September. Again, here's the schedule targeting May for the sampling and analysis plan agency review. State lands permit should be on the June agenda. Executing the sampling program in the field in August and September. Preparing the SAP report, final report by the end of the year. And then outside of this program, assuming we find good sand, the next step would be preparing a dredge design for a specific project to put sand on the beach. And there would be some detailed engineering and environmental surveys, really detailed bathymetry, side scan sonar to look for obstructions to dredging, potential habitat that we may have missed, magnetometer survey, shipwrecks, basically obstructions to dredging, and also marine archaeology and a benthic assessment of that material. And that's what I have for you. We're excited to get out on the water and pull some sand up on the deck and see what we can find for you.
Gentlemen, do you have any questions?
I do have
Go right
questions,
ahead,
yeah.
Director.
Years ago, a decade ago, we spent millions of dollars through the Army Corps of Engineers surveying all the area in front of San Clemente. And my understanding is that they had determined, based on the same testing that you appear to be doing, that there was no sand in this area. So I'm just trying to figure out what is it that you're doing differently than the Army Corps did, where they reached a conclusion that there was no sand here, that they were either going to have to go down south to, I think, Solano Beach or up north to Surfside Sunset. So why, 10 years ago, it doesn't seem like there'd be enough sand that would be here based on the coring they did. They determined there wasn't. Is there, how do we justify searching here if they've told us there's no sand here?
So you're right, nothing's changed in 10 years. In fact, we're looking for sand that's tens of thousands, if not millions of years old or deposited that long ago. So we're talking geologic time. We're using that Corps of Engineers study. They did an outstanding geophysical survey, very detailed, and then about 8 or 10 cores. So we've used that to guide this, and that's largely that study and a study from the 80s is leading us to believe that there's a very low probability of finding sand offshore at these locations because of those studies. So all of the sites that we've picked are a little bit different from where the Corps looked.
Okay.
But realistically, the geology is not going to change that much in short distances. That's why we think there's a low probability. However, the reward of finding sand that close is enormous. It can completely change the economics of a project. So that's why the city has directed us to turn over every stone as close to the city as possible. We have to be sure. So that's why we're also doing it in a screening level, 2 or 3 cores at each site. Okay, yep, this isn't what we expected, or, oh, there's something different happening here. But we don't want to sit on a site for 3 or 4 days of our 7-day budget to go, yeah, this isn't good.
Yeah, I'm still failed to understand how, I mean, was there something in the way that the Army Corps did their sampling that, leads you to believe there will be a different result? Is it far enough away from where their cores were taken? Because I thought they did a pretty good job, but I don't know.
I agree with you. That's why we think there's a very low probability that we're going to find suitable sand at some of those sites. Dana Point might be the exception because they did not look there, and in fact did not do any geophysical survey there. So that's kind of a new area. And then San Mateo around the corner, they did one core very close and they did good geophysics there. But our geologist has identified an area, a high spot in the bedrock that looks like it might be a stranded beach. That hasn't been explored. That has us intrigued. And Dana Point hasn't been explored either. But the stuff in between.
So I guess I'm going to pursue this a little bit further. So why would we then look in San Clemente if we think there's no sand there? Why wouldn't we just look out a little bit further outside of San Clemente as opposed to going where we know there's no sand?
Well, if I could answer part of that, because I was involved in the process in this plan. We don't know that there's not sand there. The studies that were done are 40 years old. And when you talk to geologists, they say, well, at geologic time, things don't change. Well, 40 years ago, we had a pretty significant beach that we don't have now. And that sand went somewhere. And if we do find it close in and we do strike gold, it would be a quantum change in how we get sand to our beach. It would be incredibly quick, incredibly inexpensive, and voluminous. So I think it's worth the investigation. So we wanted them to look close because we just don't know for sure. To say we know, we don't know because we haven't looked, and we need to look.
I don't know that I agree with you necessarily.
Well, you may not, but that's why we have 5 members of the council.
And that's why I don't know either. I don't know the answer. That's why I want to pursue it a little bit further, because if there was sand that left our beaches, that sand would be on top. It wouldn't be.
No, yeah, we're talking, it's so far offshore. It's any sand that's out there from the beaches, which I don't think there is any, is a dusting, a thin veneer. Again, we're looking for sand that's been deposited 10,000, 20,000, a million years ago. So,
but again, so it wouldn't be the sand that's just washed up there off our beach. It's
been deposited there over a different stand of sea level.
And that, as I understand it, has already been cored and determined that it's not there.
That's Osborne did that in the 70s and 80s. The Corps did it in early 2000s. So
okay.
That's why we think that's a low probability.
All right.
We have picked spots that aren't where they have cored in the past. Right. But again, geology doesn't change that much over short distances. That's why we think there's a low to very low probability of finding sand at those places. That's what we've been asked to do.
Let me ask this a little bit differently. Do you think, given the expenditures, are there other areas a little bit further out that would be, we'd get more bang for a buck in terms of where we do the coring?
You have a higher probability of
Yes.
finding good sand further away.
Okay.
And that's at the San Mateo site, the San Onofre Agra site, the Camp Pendleton Las Pulgas site. Those are the ones in South Orange County that have a higher probability. Otherwise, we're up around into the North Orange County area, Santa Ana River, Huntington Beach, and Surfside Sunset.
All right.
So that, I think you have a higher probability there, but it is further away.
So are we looking at those sites, or do we have
We
the
don't
money
have
for all?
the budget to do that now, so that's why we're trying, again, screening level to satisfy that there's no sand right off the coast, but then trying to get to some of these other sites like San Mateo and San Onofre.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor,
Mr.
can
Ruber.
I comment? I think this is just a status update, and it's, with this project going to this point, there's no point in going back to question the need to do this project because it was approved before. I was not a part of it, but the previous council approved this study. So what's the point of questioning the need to do this study at this moment? My understanding was that the Army Corps did their study, but it was not exclusive. There are missing areas, and that the consultant is looking at.
Is that a question for the,
No, that's just my comment.
all right, do you have a question, Mark?
Yeah, just following up on that, is it possible at this point to, at council direction, say, forget San Clemente, probability is too low, let's focus elsewhere? Are we too far along in that process?
No, we're not too far along. In fact, the permit application that I put forward to state lands covers all of these sites because there's always the possibility that additional funding would come through. So all of these sites should be covered in the permit. And then my plan is to put forward all of these sites in the sampling and analysis plan as well, because it's paper at that point. You know, it's just added tables, which we've already put together. So yeah, we can make changes if that's what the city, council, and staff wants to do.
So, and then follow-up question, so just to be clear, in your professional opinion, there's very little chance, or maybe you can word it better, but that we would find a different result off of our coast than the Army Corps and others found earlier. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I'm wondering from.
That's why they call it low probability.
Yes. I'm just wondering if the council is interested in saying, let's
Look at the high probability.
look at the higher probability areas and use our resources there instead. Although I know that's not on the agenda right now.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. My recommendation would be, if that is something you want to discuss, to agendize it for future discussion.
Quick question, if we were to agendize that for future discussion, how much would that delay this project?
Not at all, as long as we make a decision probably by June or May.
Okay. All right.
Question, the study was, it's being done now is between the 35-foot, which is the estimated depth of closure, and 60 feet, which is the length of the suction pipe that can be dropped from a barge. The Army Corps of Engineer project, were there sites within that same geographical area?
Pretty much. 35 feet is probably well outside of the depth of closure. I don't even want to be close. I don't want there to be a question that we're kind of just shuffling sand within the system. So I want to be offshore of that for certain. And then 60 feet, we've had some dredge sites deeper, but that's just a good rule of thumb. Say they were to dredge a 20-foot cut, that would get them down to like 80 feet. They can do that. But I just don't want to get too far out that it complicates and increases the cost of dredging.
Okay.
And I don't think we have to.
And you have identified sites that you think have a higher probability of sand, anywhere from Seal Beach to
Yes.
San Diego County. So those have been identified, and
They're identified.
you'll be looking at some of those sites as well.
No, we only have 7 days.
San Mateo,
San Mateo's in our 7-day plan right now.
Right.
As is one of the San Onofre sites.
Right.
At screening level. And then if one of them looks good, we're going to sit on that and fully characterize it.
The sites that are south, right off of Camp Pendleton, do you envision any problem with the military in terms of parking dredges or testing or long-term dredging from right off their beach?
We've been in discussion with them already, letting them know the site that we've identified and what we're thinking about. It doesn't appear that it's going to be a problem doing the sampling. When it comes to permitting it as a dredge site, that becomes, I think, a much deeper conversation with everybody. That's going to take more work. But I think we're going to be able to sample it. So first, there's no sense in worrying about it if we don't have good sand.
What are your thoughts on the possibility of sand on the beach side of the depth of closure depth?
Well, first of all,
Closer in.
on your beaches, the Corps has done a geophysical survey, and they're basically showing that you have a thin veneer and lots of exposed rocks from about 30 feet in. You don't even get to that 10-foot thickness of sediment until you get to about 50, 60 feet. So for example, here, I can just show you real quick one of your areas. So that's North Beach. All the gray stuff close to the shore is exposed reef. The purple is Wheeler Reef. The black and white check, that's the 30 to 65 footer. The cyan color, that's where the 10-foot sediment thickness meets our depth range. That's where those two overlap. So you can see where where we've placed the North Beach candidate borrow site is right on the edge of where we've even got 10-foot thickness of sand. Anything shoreward of that is thinner than 10 feet. And the further you get into shore, it just becomes sort of a thin veneer of sand that just kind of washes over that reef, probably seasonally.
So in that cream colored or that pinkish colored rectangular area where you have 10 feet of sand thickness or more, how far is that from the beach? What's the distance there? Do you have a scale on that?
Yeah, there's a scale.
Half a mile or about a mile?
So that looks like that's maybe a mile and a half offshore.
Mile and a half?
Does that look right, Andy?
Yeah, it looks like at least a mile and a half, yeah.
And so while we're here, there's a couple of dots around this. Those are vibrocores, and I can't quite see it from this far. They're either ones from the 70s from Osborne or from the Corps of Engineers. They look like they're from Osborne. So he calls them MF, marginally fine or marginally suitable, and some of them are UF, unsuitably fine. So that's, because I'm surrounded by sediment samples that says it's marginal or unsuitably fine. I haven't sampled where we've picked that box, but I don't think we're going to find something much different there based on what's around it.
So that marginally fine, or it should be marginally suitable.
Marginally fine, Osborne defined that as less than 0.09 millimeters up to 0.18 millimeters. So it's like right on the edge of, if you're closer to the 0.18, it might be okay. But if you're at 0.9, you're not.
And that's a little closer to the beach. That's about a mile away on your scale there, roughly.
Maybe a mile and a half. And then you can see, for example, here at Doheny, I've got 4 cores around it that say unsuitably fine. I don't have a core where we've placed our candidate site, but based on everything I know around it, I've probably got a good thickness of sediment, but it's probably going to be unsuitably fine.
And those prior tests went down 10 feet?
10 feet or more.
10 feet or more? Yeah. Okay. Any
So
other questions, gentlemen?
that's how the sausage was made, so to speak. And each one has a different story.
Got it. Any other questions?
No further questions.
Just additional comment, the Sunset Sioux Beach, we already have a borrow site there, so I'm not sure if there's any point to study that area.
So this is that area up there. The pink dash line is the state lands lease that the Corps has, and the city has a lease on that as well. The blue box is what the Corps used for your recent project and the Surfside Sunset project. The red box is what the Corps used for their previous Surfside Sunset project, which I think was 2007. And then the green box is our proposed site. Those other 2 sites have been exhausted, is what I've been told. So we have to open up a new site. And we think there's an extremely high probability that we're going to find good sand there, but at some point we have to prove it, both physically with grain size and chemically, in order to get that permitted.
Well, we already know we have good sand because we have transported 200,000 cubic yards onto our beaches, so
Yeah, well,
we know it's.
From the blue
we know
box.
it's- yeah, we know
So
it's there.
high probability that the green box is going to play out well also.
Yeah, great. Okay, any other questions?
No other questions?
Thank you, thank you very much.
Got it.
Hold on, do you have a question, Mr.
Yeah,
Ward?
one more last question. Andy, I think I was told that the OCTA just approved additional funding to participate and cover wider areas.
Yes, we're in discussions with OCTA. What they would like to do, because they've got some obligations to place sand on our beach, OCTA would like to expand this study to make sure that we are looking at additional sites. So we'll be working with them to see if we can expand this study to beyond just our 7 days, to see if maybe we can get another 5 or 6 or 7 days, so that when we find sand, we can really hone in on the best location for the city of San Clemente.
Will the OCTA be identifying those sites or leaving it up to the consultants?
No, I believe their intention is to augment. So let's say that we found some really promising sites on day 7, but we wanted to do some additional studies. This site, what I've been told, is that this study can be expanded. It just costs about $60,000 a day. So,
And our current costs are being covered by the Coastal Commission.
That's correct.
And OCTA would be covering any expansion.
That's right. They would be covering that. So, but even if the city council said, oh, we're really close to a good site, we need one more day, we could come back to the city council and say, do you want to go one more day? And we could add to this project, is my understanding, so.
Yeah, as long as we're still sitting on that boat ready to go.
Yeah.
We don't have to remobilize.
I have one last question. When you do the vibrocoring on your boat, is it possible to have someone from the city or from Save Our Beaches or one of the civilians, so to speak, do a tag-along, ride-along?
I think that would be a great thing. It's going to be an all-day commitment, but I have to clear it with the captain to make sure there's no maritime insurance issues or something, liabilities that he's not willing to
just
take out.
curious.
But I would love to have some of you guys out there. And if nothing else, when we're finished this, let's put the sand back on that back table and let
Let people
everybody get
take a
their
look
hands
at it.
on it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your
you. Got it.
presentation. Okay, gentlemen, thank you again, sir. Items 9, new business. We have a consideration of a resolution to accept a $25,000 donation from the PierPride Foundation for the replacement and purchase of the holiday tree at the end of the pier. That's nice.
Mayor, may I just make one quick announcement
You
on
may.
9A? We have a revised resolution, 2540, everyone's seated at the dais as well as online
Got
and
it.
in the back of the council chambers.
Thank you. Gentlemen, we have a donation to our city. Do we need a staff report on this? Would you like to hear any details? Okay. Do we have a large check that we can, that they're going to present by the,
They will once we get the tree ordered
once we
and all
get
that.
the approval?
Yes.
Okay,
They'll bring the tree into our council.
there you go. Do you,
I move approval.
is there any public comment, Madam Clerk?
There is not.
Okay, do I have a second on the, we have a motion
Mr.
and
Mayor,
a
just to
second?
clarify, is that with the revised resolution?
With the revised resolution,
Thank you.
yes.
And we have a motion by Mr. Cabral, seconded by Mr. Enmeyer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. And thank you, PierPride. We appreciate it. Okay, item 9B, discussion about city council member participation at city events and possible amendment to the city policy 1201-11 to define proper speaking etiquette and/or attendance at certain city events. This item 9B, would you begin with,
I'll start,
since
yeah.
you agendized that, Mr.
Yeah,
Cabral? Go right
I
ahead.
will. I brought this, put this on agenda. I had hoped to discuss this in closed session, but unfortunately, it's going to have to be discussed here in open session because, and actually luckily, I mean, there's some good reasons that it should be discussed in public session, but what happened is the other evening, I heard Councilmember Wu's very serious allegations against his colleagues here on the city council, so I had no option but to agendize this. I say this because he didn't identify which one of us he was making the allegation again, but I thought it was almost disparaging and a statement that shouldn't be made in open session at our council meeting. So I believe it was just plain wrong that he made that statement, but that's just my opinion. I'd hope to have, as I say, hope to have this discussion in closed session. I move to have it in closed session. So no member of this council would be further disparaged by these very serious allegations. Mr. Wu asked through a procedural move to move this item to public session when he agreed not to sue the city. Listen to the discussion at our last city council meeting that led me to agendize this matter. Madam Clerk, can you play that recording if you have it? Yes.
I'd like to bring to the council's attention that my participation was prevented by one of my fellow council members.
So what he said essentially is that he was prohibited, and he was referring to a meeting that he went to and that he reported on, where he said one of his colleagues here prevented him from participating at that meeting. There was more context to that given to this because in a sort of orchestrated comment during public comments, the commenter AQ stated Zhenwu was not permitted to speak. He raised his hand and another council member said, no, I'm not going to let you speak. Do you have that?
However, one of the main concerns that I have is this was done by Beaches, Parks, and Recreation through the subcommittee, and it seemed to me that Councilmember Zhenwu was not able to speak at that meeting. He raised his hand, and another council member said, no, I'm not letting you speak. And this is a First Amendment violation, and I'm just wondering what's happening. Do we need to work on policies and regarding decorum for city council members and to adhere to the First Amendment and to in Brown Act and the Brown Act?
So taken together, I listened to these at last meeting, and I thought they were, if true, they were very serious allegations he was making against his colleagues, and we've learned a little bit more about his claim since this. I do take Councilmember Wu's claim of violation of his constitutional rights very seriously. And I know he's serious because I understand he sought legal counsel on the matter, and he raised the allegations with city officials contemporaneously with this. His statement at the last meeting that he is no longer going to pursue litigation against the city suggests, of course, that he was contemplating suing either the city or an individual. And I take his threats seriously because he's already sued the city in the past, including the city of San Clemente and our city clerk. So I think we've come to the point, and I want to contextualize this. I think this is something I wish we didn't have to bring up in open session. I wish we could have discussed it in closed session and kept our dirty laundry out of public session. But I also think it's something that we can't just let a colleague of ours make an accusation and let it go unheeded, and we have to look at it. What I'm hoping is that Mr. Wu will say that, nope, it's all done and over with. I'm not going to pursue any lawsuit against any individual here. Apologize for making that statement, and we just move on, close this, end of story. That's my hope, but it's up to Mr. Wu what he wants to do. And I do think he either makes his case or apologizes for the statement that I thought was disparaging. That's my statement.
Thank you. Mr. Leffler, I know you have some comments. Did anybody else want to speak before? Or go right ahead, Rick.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm also disappointed that we've taken staff time and the citizens' time on this, but for the transparency for the residents, if you read the staff reports, it's still kind of difficult to understand exactly what happened. So I will just give you my perspective on the issue, and maybe it'll help for clarification. On March 26th, I attended a public meeting at Maxburg Park. This meeting was organized and hosted by the Beaches, Parks, and Recreation Commission and facilitated by Beaches, Parks, and Recreation staff members. I was asked to speak for 5 minutes in regards to what city ordinances currently were in effect that relate to park hours, park activities, and restrictions for noise, drinking, etc. I was not an organizer, host, or moderator. I was invited to speak on a specific item previously addressed as a council member whose council district encompasses Maxburg Park. It was stressed that due to time constraints, I limited my comments to the 5-minute schedule. A short time after beginning my comments, the topic veered less about general park activity to more about gang activity, assault activity in or near the park. It was obvious that the residents considered this an extremely important topic, so I listened and tried to address concerns that were raised. When I noticed that my time was now approaching 15 minutes, I announced to the crowd that we would take a couple of more questions and then bring the Director of Beaches and Parks back to refocus on the issues of the park improvements. It was at this moment when I noticed Councilmember Wu standing at the back of the crowd with his hand raised. I do not recall my exact words, but something to the effect that I would take the last 2 questions from residents and not Councilmember Wu. I took those questions and then turned the meeting back over to the host. After the meeting, I stayed for 45 minutes and spoke with several residents who shared concerns and suggestions. I observed Councilmember Wu interacting with residents for about the same amount of time. Councilmember Wu did not approach me at any time before or after I made my comments. I'm not aware that Mr. Wu at any time approached any organizer of the event and requested an opportunity to speak. A couple of days later, I was made aware that Mr. Wu had contacted the city attorney and alleged that I had prohibited him from speaking to the public, violating his rights, and he was seeking his option as to actions regarding my illegal activity. By using Mr. Wu's logic, there were a few residents present who, because of the time restraints, were not given the opportunity to ask a question or make a comment. I guess their rights must have been violated too. Is that correct? Or are you, as a council member, entitled to a higher degree of relevance and importance because of your position? In this case, I say definitely not. Your participation at this event was as a spectator, and your rights were no more or less than any other attendee. There was no entitlement. My participation in this event was as stated. I chose to answer residents' questions, but had no legal obligation to do so. When I was well past my time, I did make the decision to allow residents of the community to ask their questions, because for that reason, we were there to ascertain what the residents envisioned for their park. And that outweighed my thoughts on what Mr. Wu's comments might be. Being elected doesn't come with entitlement. You're entitled to listen to and represent the residents of this city in the best manner possible. At that moment, I knew that listening to the residents whose neighborhood would be the most affected was the best use of the time allotted. Mr. Wu had ample time after the meeting to engage any resident he so desired. I would have found it more appropriate for Mr. Wu to approach me after the meeting and express his concern. This is how adults address these types of issues, not running off to the city attorney in search of litigation. With that, I'm going to bring up a past instance, and Mark and you were part of this. Last summer, I was engaged in a city community activity that I'd been engaged in even before I was a council member. It didn't occur to me that as a council member, maybe it should have changed how I approached it. You were at that location. We had a conversation afterwards, discussed it, as adults. And gee, I think we had a pretty good rest of the summer at that event because we did discuss it as adults. I'm embarrassed that this matter has taken up staff, council, and resident time. For the past 2 years that I have been on council, I believe we have deported ourselves in a professional manner. We've had spirited and passionate debate, disagreed on issues, yet have come together in the end to represent and serve the members of our community well. I hope this incident is not a glimpse into the future and certainly not the past, when the council was contentious and at times toxic and ineffective. I have no problem moving forward and leaving this incident behind me, for it's simple. I will keep my focus on serving the residents, all residents, to the best of my ability. The residents' needs and concerns are my only priority, not the entitlements of my fellow council members. I hope that we can all continue to share this belief.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Wu, would you like, did you have any comments? Zen, go right ahead.
Sure, of course. I will read my statement. As I stated last meeting, I never had intent to pursue a legal action. I posed a question with the city attorney. I never intended to pursue a legal action. So, Councilmember Cabral, your assertion that I made an allegation against my fellow council member, that's false. And also, my inquiry was not orchestrated, or my statement is merely a fact that I was shut out of that public meeting. It's merely a fact. It's not an allegation of wrongdoing in itself. And it was not orchestrated with the public speaker. And I haven't heard you providing any evidence to prove that. And also, when you mentioned that I sued the city, I did not sue the city directly. The city, the respondent was the county registrar of voters. The city was a respondent. It was not the city. The true party of interest was my opponent, Mr. Schneider. And let's not forget that I eventually prevailed in the case twice. The first time is the motion. The first time it was the petition for mandamus itself. The second time was the legal fee. I prevailed in both occasions. And so as I stated last meeting, I had no intent to pursue a legal action. And the frivolous lawsuit among council members are mean-spirited. It does not achieve anything other than poisoning the relationship and destroying the teamwork. So let's skip the legal portion of that and go directly to the policy issue here. What transpired from this incident raised a serious concern from me on how the council can collaborate with each other as a team. That's the purpose of this discussion. And I don't mind, because it was done publicly, I don't mind talking about it publicly for the sake of transparency, so people understand what happened. And also it was the city attorney's decision that because there's no anticipated allegation from me, it cannot be put in the closed session. I wasn't opposed to the city closed session, so that's how it happened and why this is in the public, in the open session. I was in the meeting because I care about the Maxburg Plaza Park and the neighborhood. I wanted to listen to the neighbors about their concerns and ideas on how to improve the area. And I wanted to be part of that public discourse. Unfortunately, I was rudely shut down by my fellow council member. He was on the podium. He had a mic. He took questions from people before me and after me. I raised my hand among many residents wanting to ask a question or make a comment. He singled me out, pointed his finger to me and said, "Not you, Zhang. This is District 3. You don't even live here." We'll talk about the districting at a later time. He controlled the meeting at the moment. Unfortunately, he abused his power to single out a resident and excluded him from the participation, not to mention that person is his fellow council member. I can only imagine how a schoolboy feels about being bullied by another boy at the school's play yard saying, "You don't get to play." I have 3 concerns I'd like to address. The first issue is that who gets invited to a city-sponsored public meeting? In this case, Councilmember Loeffler was the only one invited to attend and to speak. I was informed by one of the commissioners, but not invited. As far as I know, other council members were not informed. So please correct me if I'm wrong here. In my viewpoint, all council members should be informed and invited. The Brown Act may limit the attendance to 2. Therefore, the liaison council member, in this case, Mayor Pro Tem Meyer, followed by the alternate, if there is one, may be prioritized. The attendance of other council members may be decided on a first-come, first-served basis or be worked out among themselves. The second issue, which was troubling to me, is the aggressive behavior from one council member to another in a public meeting. This incident laid bare the discordance among the council members and reduced the confidence and respect from the public to the council. We agree or disagree with each other all the time, but when the difference on policy issues are taken personally and was translated into hostility towards each other, the divided council failed to function for the best interests of the community. This aggression must stop or to be stopped. Otherwise, any of us can be on the receiving end of this behavior next time. I hope that Councilmember Loeffler recognized that his behavior crossed the line and the public apologized. The third issue is that certain council members become territorial. The council member involved essentially started a turf war and claimed his own jurisdiction. This is not how we govern. The city council governs the whole city and it shares responsibility. No council member has his or her own exclusive jurisdiction, regardless of the implementation of the by-district election system. I will address it further in a few minutes when we talk about item 9C. During the meeting, Councilmember Loeffler said to me twice, "You don't even live here. We're not talking about your district. This is District 3." I think that shows that there's a mentality of, this is my territory, it's not your business. So that's my statement.
Well, in response, I didn't even have a conversation with you, period. Never said anything about District 3. That wasn't the conversation. Yes, I said I was going to take residents' questions over you. Several residents didn't get to speak. That's absolutely true. That rest of that stuff, I have no idea where that's coming from. But let's be clear, you precipitated this. When you're snipe up here at the dais, which used to happen more than it's ever happened in the last couple of years, this is on you, Zen.
The discussion we're having here is about etiquette in public meetings, and I think the Maxburg Park incident's been discussed and addressed, and unless there are any specific actions, I would recommend we receive and file this report.
Mr. Mayor, you may want to ask for
Are there
public
public
comment.
comments?
Yes,
How many comments do we have?
2.
Okay, let's hear from the public then.
Amanda Quintanilla, followed by Lois McNichol.
Thank you.
Yes, I have a presentation. And as a longtime resident of over 50 years, I'm a firm supporter of the First Amendment rights and have spoken about that at quite a length. Next slide, please. Councilmember Cabral already mentioned what was stated, and I'm glad he did because it kind of shortens my comments here. But Councilmember Loeffler stated, "No, I'm not going to let you speak." And that Councilmember Wu had his hand raised politely, and Councilmember Loeffler shut him down. That's a First Amendment First Amendment violation. And then he also said that he couldn't speak because it wasn't even his district. And also, he only limited one person to have one question, despite there was other questions. And that person, unfortunately, will not probably speak tonight. However, it's unfortunate that because that needs to be addressed. Next slide, please. in the staff report, it says Government Code 36813 is included in the staff, where it states the council may establish rules for the conduct of its proceedings. It may punish a member or other person for disorderly behavior at a meeting. Councilmember Wu was not being disorderly or disruptive. So I don't know why that was there. However, we do have to mention, I have to mention that this summer, there was at a Friday coffee chat meeting. It was Councilmember Loeffler that came in, made allegations about me, about Zen Wu, and another candidate. And so he came up to me, slammed his hand in front of my, at the table, in front of me, did the same thing to Councilmember Wu, and made an allegation about another candidate. So if we're talking about outburst, he needed to apologize back then. I didn't, I just went, I mean, there was no reason for me to apologize, but I didn't, I just moved forward and went along with it because it was during my campaign. Next slide, please. So the staff report includes that under the First Amendment, legislators are given the widest latitude to express their views on issues of policy, since debate on public issues should be uninhibited, robust, and wide open. Next slide, please. The city attorney cites DeGrassi versus City of Glendora, where a council member was excluded from council meetings that involved her legal case. So it wasn't regarding her viewpoint, it didn't violate the First Amendment. However, this analysis seems to be inaccurate when applied to Councilmember Wu. Next slide, please. And so basically, this is about First Amendment rights. And
Next speaker, please.
Lois McNichol?
Okay, well, so I was not aware of the Maxburg Park incident. However, I do have an issue with the way city council members address the public, especially when it comes to ballot propositions. Since you are the ones that are able to vote in order to have that proposition be on the ballot in the first place, there is no reason for you to be out there dancing and singing and saying, yay, yay, vote for me. That is not what you should be doing as a city council. That is, your issue was, do I want to vote for this to be on the ballot or not? After that, you're done. It ends for you. At that point, it becomes the public, as you have all said, it becomes the public's reason. We decide at that point, what are we going to do? Are we going to vote yes, or are we going to vote no? But we don't need all of the singing and dancing and all that stuff. It doesn't help us. And as far as the aggressive behavior of Councilman Loeffler, yes, I was the other candidate that Amanda was talking about. So, and there is a clear conflict of interest if you can vote to put something on the ballot and then go out there and say, yes, vote for it.
Okay, thank you. I think everyone's expressed their opinion. Mark, you haven't had an opportunity to speak, so go right ahead.
I would just like to say a couple things. I wasn't part of this at all. I think we can, from my vantage point, I'm seeing both sides, and I can see fault on both sides. I can also see truth in both sides as well. So I just want to think we need to be starting to look forward as a council on how we can avoid some of these things coming up. And I would encourage both of you outside of this to get together outside of these hours, get a beer, hash it out, see what needs to be talked about going forward. There is an issue here that I am concerned about, and that is when council members are asked to speak at an engagement, at a city engagement by a committee or a commission or a subcommittee, and only one council member is invited, that council member may not even know that he is the only one invited. But we need to have some way to either say no to that or some agreed upon policy that if one of us is invited to something, all of us need to be invited to it, and then in order to avoid a Brown Act violation, we need to have some sort of way of saying how many can, or who gets to go to this, or we say none of us should go to this if it's a committee or subcommittee of a committee or a commission. But we should have the courage to be able to say no, because I'll be honest, I would have loved to have been there. And I, as liaison for beaches, parks, and rec, I would have loved to hear those comments. But I don't, we shouldn't be in this situation, hashing this out on the public dais. We need to be able to work together to figure these things out amicably. I mean, I'll be honest, my best, if this were selfishly me, my best interest is to have everyone duke it out and I can sit back and watch it. But for the betterment of our city, we need to be able to work these things out. So with that, I would just say I'm open to some sort of amendment on how we organize these events that are done by the city in terms of who goes to them, just so we have a policy going forward so we don't find ourselves in a predicament like this again.
Yeah, let me comment. I think, I regret the angst that's been expressed here by a number of my colleagues. But, we have difference of opinions, and, the Maxburg Park meeting, I knew it was happening. I think we are all notified. I had other items. I didn't go. Oftentimes I don't when I know other council members are going to be there. And I think we've addressed the issue of communications in the past where we've had more than a couple council members at a meeting, and it's a public meeting. We haven't notified it for the public, so it's a potential Brown Act issue. It's not illegal to be in the same place at the same time. We just can't discuss what we're going to be doing. And I think we've kind of addressed that historically from time to time. So I'm confident that the legal issues are not a problem. I think we're all sensitive to that. Mark, I agree. It's, we just need to move on. We have strong differences of opinion, but I don't know that we need a policy change, but if there's a specific recommendation that anyone would like to make, we can entertain that consideration, so.
I'd move to move on and table this.
I would second that motion unless there's any other discussion. Okay, we motion to table the item made by Mr. Cabral. I seconded it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. The next item, Resolution 9C, it's a consideration of a re-ratification of a Resolution 2412 entitled Resolution of the City Council of the City of San Clemente adopting a statement for the intent for each council member to act in the best interest of the entire city following the implementation of council district elections. This was suggested to be put on the agenda by Mr. Wu, with Mr. Enmeyer seconding. Mr. Wu, I'll turn it over to you to open the discussion. By the way, before we start, are there any public comments on this item, Madam Clerk?
We have one, yes.
Mr. Wu, go right ahead.
Thank you. I will keep it very simple because we already talked much about it. So I move to re-ratify Resolution 24-12 with the additional language as follows. The City Council governs the whole city with all council members sharing the responsibilities. No council member has his or her exclusive jurisdiction, regardless of the implementation of the by-district election system.
That is pretty much the essence of our resolution. Does it need to really be modified? I noticed that when we approved that last year, the only member that wasn't on the council then was you, Mr. Wu. So
the essence, the language also only says every council member should act at with the best interest of the community.
Of the 5 items there, which one are you referring to on the resolution?
On the Resolution 2412, it only says that every council member needs to act at the best interest of the community. There's a lack of specificity, specifics. So I'd like to clarify that no council member has his or her own jurisdiction. We all share the responsibilities as a whole team, covering the whole city.
You don't feel that is specified in the ordinance as it is?
No.
I think it is. I know I act in that way. I don't, I get calls from every district. I was probably out in every district this week. People from all over in every single district call me. So I don't think it's a problem. I think people are reaching out to you from every district. You just don't get calls from your district.
You and I we technically weren't voted in as district, though.
Yeah, but.
No, I see what you're saying, yeah.
But I think, the resolution was clear. We all represent everybody in this city, and I will continue to represent everybody in this district. And I would suggest to Mr. Wu, if he doesn't feel that that's clear to him, I think the resolution is clear as stated.
Mr.
Yeah, well, I was elected in a district, but, and you'll hear it in my council comments, I was working in District 1 with residents. I've been working with 2 residents in District 4. I work with I'm working on projects in my own district because I don't consider it districts. I answer every call, just like I always have. I think city staff, city manager can verify that I've been doing things in every district, basically. And I see no reason to reestablish this ordinance. We took it. I think we're all abiding by it. If there's a clarification, or if you can recommit to it, but I think we're all committed to it, I'd be more than happy. And I really encourage all residents, if they want to call one council member, call the one you think is going to work best for you. I don't care where you live. Call the best one. I'm more than happy, people in District 3, call Mr. Wu and have him handle your situation. I'm confident you can do it.
Great. Do you oppose this language?
I think it's already been done, that's all. I think.
Let's hear from the public before we consider motions. Do we have public comments?
Amanda Quintanilla?
So this resolution, of course, obviously came up due to Councilmember Wu just raising his hand at a Maxburg Park community meeting. And it's surprising to me how things could be turned around as that someone just wanting to ask a question or making a comment was completely shut down. And he's the one that's supposed to somehow apologize. I don't understand that. This resolution came up last time, and my concern was that there's no enforcement of this, right? Obviously, there was a problem at Maxburg Park a couple of weeks ago, and nothing happened, right? I mean, nothing resulted in, okay, I'm going to do better next time. Oh, yes, we'll grab a beer or something like that's a solution. But there's no enforcement of this, right? And the problem is that I had spoken to 2 people who attend Maxburg Park. One person did not want to speak because there was a...
Excuse me for interrupting you. We're not discussing Maxburg Park. This deals with the resolution.
Correct.
So you're rehashing what we covered in the last item, so it's not relevant to this item. So if you
I'll
could address
expand on
just
that.
this item.
I'll expand on that. So there's a concern regarding a culture of retaliation, and there's a concern regarding this. So that's why in this resolution, I would suggest to listen to Councilmember Wu and add an additional verbiage to help in the future. Because at the end of the day, I mean, what did we learn? Nothing, basically, right? He was shut down, and doing this resolution, what's going to happen if someone doesn't comply with this? Nothing. There's no enforcement capabilities. So as I stated last year, it's the same thing. There's no enforcement. But it's a shame that he was shut down, and this was brought into to look at it, to revise it, because there was a concern. Thank you.
Okay, we've all weighed in on this. I haven't commented, but I think the resolution 2412 clearly indicates that we're all city council members for the entire city, and we represent the entire city. We don't have exclusive jurisdiction. So I think the resolution is pretty straightforward and consistent with what I think we all understand the policy is. Is there a motion on this item specifically?
I will move to table it.
There's a motion.
I'll second.
Motion is second. I hear no substitute motion, so let's vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
That's 4-1 with Mr. Wu opposing. The next item is item 9D, the scheduling of meetings to interview appointment individuals and serve on the various city commissions and committees, related direction. We have a staff presentation on this?
I will take this. Mayor and council, this is your annual item to schedule an interview date or dates to fill positions for all of our city commissions and committees. We have 14 total vacancies, and I can go further into that, or we can just quickly schedule. We have 14 vacancies that expire in June, with new terms to begin July 1st. So if you'd like to discuss that further, we can, or we could set a meeting date. Typically, we've done it before a city
Okay.
council meeting in
Do
June.
we have any public comments on this item?
We do have a couple of public comments.
Okay, gentlemen, did you want to opine or discuss this at all before the comments? Okay, then let's hear the public comments before we proceed.
Amanda Quintanilla and John Dolegowski. Amanda?
So I was looking at this agenda item, and I know that the Coastal Advisory Committee, there's 3 members that their term expires in 2026. So that's the same 3 people that will be advanced, or could be advanced if the city council decides on that. However, in that sense, that's the same people that you need for the Coastal Advisory Committee. And so that they should be advanced, and that would, solve interview and that interview process if they, if Mr. Dolegowski or Mr. Van Dijk or Mr. Schmidt decides not to, or decides to proceed with it or not. But I think those 3 spots are already there, and they should continue for 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
John Dolegowski?
Excuse me. Yeah, hi, I'm John Dolegowski. I'm a current member of the Coastal Advisory Committee. I wanted to share some thoughts in regards to this new organization. I am somewhat concerned that this is going to be a significant reduction in focus, given that we've previously had 7 people on the Coastal Advisory Committee, and it's going to be reorganized as 3 members as part of Beaches, Parks, and Recreation. And I think in order to get some useful work or completed from those people, with the new organization, it would be beneficial to have a subcommittee set up specifically for coastal issues within BPNR. And rather than giving them general scopes of work, perhaps identify some specific tasks that could be delegated, such as researching a specific issue and reporting back to the city council, attending meetings that you're unable to attend, such as other cities, such as Oceanside, going through the same process, or regulatory organizations, things of that sort. Participating in the planning and performing of monitoring activities, water quality and beach sand, and perhaps performing outreach to San Clemente citizens. So these are things that would dovetail with what you're doing, but perhaps you don't have enough time to do. And support programs to get additional funding as needed. And I think it would be beneficial to share the information on coastal issues on a regular basis. I have to say, I think all of you are doing a great job, and I'm really pleased to see how integrated all of you have come up to speed on these issues, and you're doing a good job. But a lot of times, because you're involved in it day to day, it's not clear to people like myself what actually is happening and how we could help out. So I think it would be beneficial if you could give an update on coastal activities once per month, perhaps as part of the city council meetings. And if that doesn't work, maybe have a quarterly update And those would, it could be presented by Leslia or Andy, whoever's is involved in all these issues. But there's a lot of, information to cover, including all the monitoring that's going on, these issues that sand supply that we talked about today, the OCTA negotiations, which we read about in the newspaper, but we don't necessarily know where the city is in that process, and subcontracting, beach sand replenishment, recent storm events, funding, permitting. So there's a lot of stuff, and I think that'd be really helpful.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public speakers?
Susan Ambrose?
Good evening. I want to thank John. He took about 2/3 of my speech, too. And that's great. And it means we think alike. We worked together for some time now, and especially on coastal advisory issues. And we've trucked probably, 20 miles on the beaches and, looked at the water up from the major dump up there and followed the waters down and looked where the bacteria was coming out, et cetera. All of these things that may not seem important to you, but they're important to our keeping our beaches and our oceans clean. I'm looking to talk to also you about the replacing or adding on people on the Coastal Advisory Committee or going over to beaches, parks, and recreation. This has been done before a few times. And most of those times, those were pretty smooth changes. But there's a lot of people who don't change very willingly. So there's a lot of compromising going on when you go to one meeting or one commission or committee to another. They may not function the same way. They may not think the same way. People on beaches, parks, and recreation do not deal with coastal issues right now. They will be gaining some information from the three that are going over, and we all have a different degree of knowledge of coastal issues. So keep that in mind when you think if the three that you're sending over may be covering all the information that they need. I also read that Laura said there's two in her written report. There will be two places to allow for more people, two more people in beaches, parks, and recreation. Is that true, Laura? I can ask that question. I'm sorry.
Go with your
Well,
comments.
I wasn't sure. I was a little confused there when that discussion came, and then I saw the paper. So my understanding, since I'm going to be expired at the end of 25, which would be June 30th, I believe, and then there will be interviews going on. I would like to have that opportunity to interview for a coastal position on beaches, parks, and recreation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public speakers, Madam Clerk?
No.
Okay, gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
Dates?
Well, I'm looking down the road there.
Are we looking at dates already?
Yes.
Is this in May that we
We could do May or we could do June. We
Well,
could do-
June, we need to make these appointments before the June ends, so
sometime in June?
sometime in June, yeah, you have
I can do
we're meeting
this-
on the 3rd and the 17th.
I can do before either of those meetings, that's fine.
I'm flexible.
17th might be easier for me because I'm out of school, but I can
let's
just
make
as.
it easy
I
for you,
know,
Mark.
I know.
That's the city council night, that's 17th, I think, of June.
He's
isn't
talking
it?
about doing it early, maybe before the council?
Before the council
Oh,
meeting.
before the
Yes.
same day.
Do it during finals.
Finals would be the 3rd, and that would, I could do that.
That works for me, gentlemen, does that,
Sure.
The 17th?
What's the date you're looking at?
that's Tuesday, the 17th?
Yeah.
Before the council meeting, how many hours in advance do you think we'll need, about 3?
3, probably. We could, we could
So like
start,
1 o'clock?
we could start at 1 o'clock, if that works.
Yeah, well, that'll give us time, if we can finish in 3 hours, to give it a little break before the meeting starts.
Okay.
Does that work, gentlemen? 1 o'clock?
Yeah.
17th at 1 o'clock, do I have a motion? You're going to advertise, we need a motion for authorize the advertising.
I'll make a motion that we have our, what time do we say, 1 o'clock? That we'll have our meeting at 1 o'clock on June 17th for the advertise, or for the
committee and commission.
Interviews and appointments.
And
Second.
That motion includes the authorization for the advertising for the city clerk?
Yes.
Okay, did we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
Add that right now.
Okay. The next item is a fiscal year 24-25 second quarter report and mid-year budget adjustments. Mr. City Manager, do you have your staff prepared to make a presentation? Would you like to chat with us briefly about this, or?
Yes, I appreciate, first, as you know, we have a new finance manager, and so that's really exciting times, and you've got, of course, Brian over there. They've got a short presentation, if you're okay with that. It's a mid-year budget adjustment. That means we're midway through the fiscal year, which would be roughly December 31st of last year, and we're just kind of getting those numbers to report to you. We're in the middle of a 2-year budget cycle, and so, again, we will be, the current 2-year budget will take us through June of 2026. So this is the first mid-year budget adjustment report from staff since the 2-year budget was adopted.
Thank you. And
Yep.
Cheryl Mariano, welcome to San Clemente. Good to see you. Brian, why don't you go ahead with the presentation?
Introduce her.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Brian Brower, here to present to you the second quarter report and the mid-year budget adjustments. As Andy mentioned, at the end of December, we rolled up the second quarter report and used those numbers to compare budget to the actual revenue received and the actual expenditures that have been expended to this point. At this point, focusing specifically on the general fund, but really this applies to all the other funds as well. Revenues are well aligned with the budget. We do have some variations that we'll talk about on the next slide, but all in all, revenues are doing well. We also try to ensure through this process that expenditures are tracking within budget, and I'm happy to report that they are. There's an entire listing of the mid-year adjustments that are being proposed that's attached to the agenda report. To touch on a couple of highlights in the general fund, our revenue mid-year adjustments that we're proposing to make are actually nudging up our property taxes slightly. We're performing a little bit better than we budgeted. As you know, we always budget very conservatively in that area, and we're doing well. Sales tax, we're seeing a decrease. The number's a little bit off. I shouldn't say a little bit. We're proposing to adjust that number down by $500,000. Some of our franchise fees, specifically with respect to Cox Communications, we're seeing a reduction from the budget number there, and so we're proposing to adjust that down. And then some of our other franchise fees, specifically San Diego Gas and Electric, is up above where we budgeted. We're also seeing an increase in our ambulance service charges through this point in the year. There's a few other smaller adjustments, but the total general fund revenue changes that we're proposing are $226,000. On the expenditure side, we're seeing a few minor adjustments, one with personnel costs, some increase in the cost of operating supplies, some professional services increases, and this specifically, this adds up to $71,000 for a net impact to the general fund operating position of approximately $155,000, and that's going in a positive direction. And with that, we don't have a lengthy presentation prepared, but we're happy to take any questions from the council.
The ambulance services that are up, what's the reason for that? Refresh my memory, is this an annual contract? It's a 2-year contract, or where are we at in the process?
Well, what this represents is the revenue increase that we're seeing is partly related to a council action that was taken earlier this year, where we aligned the annual increases in our ambulance service fees with the county at the time the county sets them. And so we're seeing an increase. I believe the increase was somewhere in the order of a couple $100 per transport, and so that has a significant impact.
That was in cooperation and tracking the county.
That's correct. It tracks to the county, and so we're seeing a difference there. We're also seeing revenue from the GEMT program, which is a state program that helps reimburse ambulance transport fees through Medi-Cal. And so between those two items, that's where we're seeing that increase. We don't know if it's a permanent increase through the GEMT. We want to be cautious in future years budgeting for that revenue, but in the current year, it's working out for the city.
Okay. Do we have any public comments, Madam Clerk?
We do. Lois McNichol?
Just one?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a concern since we did move to two-year budgeting. Are we still going to have, because I found it very informative, the long-term financial plan meeting that we had when we had annual budgets? And I don't see one scheduled, and I see this, but that wasn't anything like the long-term financial plan that we had, meeting that we had where everything was discussed and we were told exactly where we stood fiscally. So I would like to know whether, that is my concern because of the fact that we did change to two-year budgeting.
Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, any comments or motions, or?
I mean, we've all met with staff and gone over all our issues, so I would just move the
I'll take
agenda
a
item.
motion if you want to make one.
I would move the agenda item, 9E.
Mr. Cabral make a motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Leffler. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
The next item is consideration of a resolution approving classification changes supporting departmental reorganization and other various changes for organizational effectiveness and a revised salary schedule.
And Mayor, before we move forward with this agenda item, I would like to announce we have a revised agenda report at the dais, at the back of the room, and online.
Right.
With some numbers up there.
Right. And there's numbers on 1A and B, first numbers you see there, 196 and 196,000 and 263,000. Is that what you have on your agenda?
Those are changed, yeah.
Yeah, I had to substitute out my agenda, so I think we've all got it now.
Thank you.
Mr. City Manager, you want to?
You bet. Mayor and Council, I know that you've all been briefed in great detail on this item. I do have a presentation. If you have questions or if the public has questions, I'm very glad to talk about those. We don't generally talk about personnel items in public session, but there are some new requirements from the state. They're not new now, they've been several years. And anytime you make any adjustments to an executive level position, that needs to happen in a public meeting so that people can make comment. And so unless the council has questions or would like me to go through my presentation, I would present these organizational changes to you with the request that the executive positions in both, they're identified there in A and B, be read out loud by the council as part of the motion.
Right.
And I'll, at your pleasure, if you don't need any additional information, I know we briefed you in great detail on these, but if you have any questions, I'm glad to go into more detail.
One quick question. The
Yes.
high end of the dollar amount, that's not, the employee's not automatically getting that. That's the high end of the range, and they have to work up to it over time, correct?
That is correct, Mayor.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Oh,
Any
excuse
questions?
me, Mayor, I'm sorry, we do have two speaker cards.
Okay, let's hear the public speakers then.
Amanda Quintanilla, followed by Lois McNichol.
Okay, come right ahead.
Presentation, please. Next slide, please. So this chart it came from the retreat that the city council members had, and where the community development department was saying that they were, working from 262 hours to 342 hours per month on commissions and committees. Next slide, please. But when asked by a council member, how much of your work week do you spend dedicated to that, he said about 5 hours, a solid to 5 hours. Next slide, please. At the retreat, the Director of Community Development, stated, "The Public Safety Committee, PSC, has spent much of their time addressing disaster communication preparedness over the years, a task that is being addressed more directly by staff now that is not being administered by consultants. Looking forward, this work will involve updating city plans and programs that will involve the city's council direct review and approval and oversight by the PSC will not be as needed in the future. Other PSC work has included direction from the city council on drafting ordinances, but his work can be assigned directly to staff as it was prior to the creation of the PSC." Next slide, please. So he further added that the Public Safety Committee, who have done some really great things, one of their projects has been on their work plan for 5 years. So probably the entire time that they've been in a committee has been to look at disaster preparedness. And that work, most of what they have been working on is information gathering and looking at some, I'll say, relatively minor aspects, mostly communication related to disaster preparedness. Next slide, please. And go over one more, please. So according to the city manager, the city engaged Michael Baker International to write an update on the city's LHMP. Previously, the city prepared the multi-hazard mitigation plan in 2004 to implement a hazard mitigation strategy within the community. And I guess that expired on September 3rd, 2009. Thus, this 2024 iteration of the plan serves as a comprehensive hazard mitigation plan update and reestablishes the city's eligibility for certain state and federal pre-disaster funding and past disaster reimbursement. So it's my understanding that it seemed to convey that there was some blame on the Public Safety Committee for not doing this local hazard mitigation plan, yet the city hired, Michael Baker International to do that. I understand that this came about right after the retreat, which seems kind of off because it seems like, was there a financial conflict of interest saying that, look, this is how many hours we're having versus.
7 seconds left on mine.
So I'm really concerned about that. This was on the agenda previously, and now it came back, so it seems like, was there a
Thank you.
financial conflict of interest? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker? Yeah, my timer was about 7 or 8 seconds off of yours, apparently.
And Lois McNichol.
Go right ahead now.
Okay, again, I'm all about finances. I have to do my own. I've done them for years, and it's only me. So therefore, I have to be very, very careful about how I spend because I have to pay for it. No one's coming in and giving me extra money. That's not happening. I expect the same thing from the city of San Clemente. So therefore, when I read about you're hiring more people and they're going to get more money, I want to know what they're going to do, why we need them, and why is it that when they're proposing more sales tax increases because we don't have enough money, and when I hear about long-term financial plans saying, gee, we're going to be out of money in 5 years. Well, how are we paying for all of this? And I know this because as a government employee, when they started running out of money and they weren't getting all those funds from the state and the federal government anymore, they started looking at laying people off. And the only reason I wasn't laid off, I had already worked there 15 years.
Thank you. Okay, so you want to make a motion?
Yeah,
Victor?
I'll make a motion. I just wanted to clarify one thing, ask a question of the city manager. Are we increasing staff in our city, or are we decreasing? As I understand, we're cutting staff.
Yeah, none of these actions would increase the number of staff members, and we have positions that remain unfilled.
All right, I just wanted to clarify that. And with that, I'm going to move to approve classification changes supporting departmental.
Councilmember.
Mr. Mayor, I would recommend that you have someone give an oral report before having a
I
motion.
assume his motion is going to include.
No, the motion
I make it
can't,
all,
the oral report has to be made first.
Okay,
I'll
let's
make
have
it
the oral
all
report.
yeah.
Mr. Wu, go right ahead.
So for the oral report, I'd like to summarize that resolution number 25-42.
That's what I was in the process of doing.
Okay.
You're going to do the oral report?
Yeah,
not a motion.
I thought you were making the motion.
Well, I'm reading the entirety of the
Okay.
the thing.
Okay.
You need to do the
Please go
oral
ahead.
report before the motion?
Yes, it's a very odd way the government code is set up. First, you do the oral report summarizing the resolution, and then the motion, so they have
So
to be
Victor, if you
separate.
could read A and B and then make your motion, I think would come.
Yeah, well, I was reading the entirety of it.
Yeah, start with A and B first, and then we can. do the
Okay,
whole thing.
regrade the community development director with a salary range of $196,497.60 to $238,846.40, with benefits of $350 monthly auto allowance and an annual $6,500 deferred compensation contribution. B, reclassify the position of Administrative Services Director to a Chief Administrative Officer position with a salary range of $216,632 to $263,328 and benefits of $350 monthly auto allowance and an annual $6,500 deferred compensation contribution.
Okay. And you want to make a motion
I'll
to
make
adopt the resolution?
make a motion to adopt the recommendation for final action on the salary schedules, compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits of the local agency executives, specifically that resolution 25-42.
They'll do that. Yeah.
Oh, after hearing such oral report, adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Yep. To adopt Resolution 25-42, approve the reorganization and reclassification changes and approve.
Okay, with the oral report made and the motion to approve Resolution 25-42, do I have a second?
Second?
Motion made by Mr. Cabral, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Enmeyer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, passes 5-0. That brings us to the consent calendar. Gentlemen, anyone want to pull any of these items?
Yeah, I'll pull item 10H.
10H, as in hospital?
Yes.
Okay, anyone else? Let's, you want to have a motion for the balance?
I make a
gentlemen?
motion to move the balance.
Motion by,
I'll second that.
okay, motion by Mr. Wu, seconded by Mr. Cabral. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, and that brings us to 10H.
And Mayor, just so you know, we do have 2 speaker cards on item 10H as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is consideration of submitting a letter in opposition to California Legislature regarding the Assembly Bill 820, a bill to add Section 50206 to the California Health and Safety Code relating to homelessness transport. We have a staff report?
I'm available for questions, and I can give
Okay,
a
if there
brief
are any
overview
questions.
if desired.
I don't really have any questions now.
Okay, no questions? Then let's hear from the public. Thank you, Adam.
Tom Streeter, followed by Donna Vadrine.
Good evening, gentlemen. This is a fine draft up letter. I propose that we turn it upside down and instead come out strongly in favor of this bill. This bill doesn't have a title. If it did, it would be properly called the 2028 Olympics Anti-Dumping Bill. We know what's going to happen when the Olympics come through Los Angeles in a couple of years. They're going to clean it out. They're going to move all the homeless people out of town, and the only place they can move up to is here. This bill tries to prevent that. We are not a dump war city. We are a dumpy city. We should strongly support this bill. Thank you.
Donna Vadrine.
I am in support of Assembly Bill 280. Assembly Bill 280 is an anti-dumping bill addressing the statewide problem and concern affecting the homeless population in California. Assembly Bill 280 aims to prevent the relocation of a homeless individual to another city without prior coordination for shelter or housing. Assembly Bill 280 does not prohibit providing transportation for medical care and assistance, legal appointments, or other appointments that the unhoused individual is requesting assistance with. Assembly Bill 280 is about taking responsibility and not relocating homeless. What does the bill do? Assembly Bill 280 prohibits employees of a local government or law enforcement agency from transporting a homeless individual to another city. This bill is not about restricting transportation to essential services. It does not apply to rides provided for medical care, legal appointments, or other requested support services. Rather, the bill aims to stop the practice of relocating homeless individuals from one city to another without a responsible, coordinated plan, shifting the problem instead of addressing it. What this means for San Clemente. In San Clemente, we currently face a significant challenge with limited shelter beds and supportive housing options. Many individuals and families experiencing homelessness are sleeping in cars on public streets and neighborhoods, occupying public spaces or unauthorized private areas, lacking access to stable, safe shelter. Our outreach teams and police department work diligently to support those in need. However, due to the scarcity of local shelter space, there has been a push to relocate individuals to other cities such as Laguna Beach, Lake Forest, or Santa Ana without a formal shelter or housing plan in place. This bill holds cities like ours accountable. It says if you're going to move people along, you must do so responsibly. This means coordinating with the destination city and ensuring there is a safe place for the person to go. Simply removing someone from your city does not solve homelessness. It only displaces it. Why this matters? Homelessness is defined as lacking a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. This includes sleeping in a car, a park, a tent, or any space not meant for habitation. These are not acceptable long-term solutions for anyone, and they should not be treated as such. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public speakers, Madam Clerk?
No.
Okay, gentlemen, what's your pleasure on this bill?
I'll just speak very quickly, and I'm really in concurrence with Mr. Streeter's comments here that it's not so much I'm concerned about that we won't be able to facilitate the services to the homeless that are here. I think what our community outreach workers are doing will be able to continue to be done. I'm more concerned about other cities sending their unhoused populations to us, and that especially with the Olympics coming up, that could be a real issue. So I will be voting no on 10H.
Yeah, I have a question for Adam. Are this staff on this? Yes. So in the staff report, all the examples that the speakers spoke, it seems like the staff report says it's kind of opposite. It would negatively impact how we can provide services, and it lists about 6 or 7 of them here. So could you maybe expand on these? It starts with providing the homeless with transportation assistance to several other cities in order to receive a multitude of treatments, providing the homeless with transportation assistance, faith-based work programs. So this bill would prohibit us from doing that?
This bill, staff's issue with this bill is that it's poorly written, and it identifies a penalty for city staff in the completion of their job to help people get services. It provides a very loose framework for identifying what a violation of that law is, which is that somebody is taken to another city for the purposes of dropping them off. The work that our community outreach staff does involves transporting people to many locations, and we're not always in control of what that person wants to do once they are there. We do not want to get ourselves in a position where, in order to take somebody out of the city for something like medical care, going to the Social Security office, things like that, we also need to contemplate that there's a long-term strategy should they not decide to come back to the city, whether through travel means that we're providing or otherwise.
Okay, and most of these transportations are voluntary, right?
Pretty much all volunteer.
Yes, virtually all of the ones that the community outreach team is involved in.
Yes. My concern with it is that the people that are going to administer this is the state of California, and they're the ones that are going to decide who gets fined $10,000 every time you move someone, and they're going to come after a city like ours every time we try and do something good, to take someone to medical services or take them to for emergency services, and we didn't properly account and document what those services were, or we couldn't get a hold of someone and we get stuck with a $10,000 fine. So I support this letter.
Thank you. Mr. Wu, you haven't had a
Yeah,
chance to speak
I
yet.
have a question for the city attorney. Who gets to decide for the purpose of relocating the homeless individual? Is it a government agency at the state level? Is it a court through litigation by private citizen, nonprofit organizations, government, or some other attorney general, et cetera?
That remains to be seen how it would, I agree with what the community development director said, that this is a poorly drafted law, and it's not really clear how it would come out. I share the concerns of staff.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Liffler?
Yeah, last thing. So if the bill doesn't pass, it's not going to change how we do things for providing transportation or whatever, right? It just stays the same as we facilitate transportation whenever we can, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
I'm supportive of the letter also. I don't think the city's really, I respect Mr. Streeter's opinion a lot, but, if we were a receiver city, we'd have a whole lot more than 30 people. And I don't know if that's going to change a whole lot in a couple of years. With Olympics, it might, but, that's the nature of what we have. We're delighted to have the Olympics here. We've got a great homeless outreach staff, and our sheriff's department's more than capable of handling the security and safety issues that so many people are concerned about. So I'm supportive of the letter. If there's a motion one way or the other, I'll entertain it.
I'll make an additional comment. I think the essence of this is that it increases potential legal exposure of the city staff doing their job. So if we oppose it, it doesn't pass, then they can always revise it to make it better, and then we'll see at that time. So, yeah, I'm going to support that letter.
Okay, is there a motion on the
I'll
floor?
move to approve the letter.
Is there a second to approve the signing of this letter on behalf of the city?
I'll second.
That's motion seconded by Mr. Loeffler. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
Nope.
It passes 4-1 with Mayor Pro Tem Enmeyer voting no. That brings us to this item 11, oral communications part 2. Do we have any requests?
We do not.
Okay, future agenda items. Victor, I think you
I
had one earlier.
have a couple of future agenda items.
Go right ahead.
One, regarding the future, the sand and where we do our search. I'd like to look at have our staff look at and recommend that we focus our time, energy, and money on where there's the best opportunity to find sand as close to San Clemente as possible, but not focus on areas that have been previously rejected. And I guess I would agendize that if I get a second and get a report, hopefully, to find out how we can better identify best opportunities to find sand here in San Clemente.
I'll second that.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
On that presentation, and I think I missed something, but the way it's structured now, we can't go and look at that seaside location, the new area where we think we're going to have to get sand next?
You mean Surfside?
Surfside, I'm sorry. Yeah. That's not a possibility? Or could we go up there?
No, I think, as I understood it, we're looking closer in instead of spreading it out, but we could find other sites that are a little bit further out, but there's no money right now. We're going to do two things. We're going to try and get more OCTA money to add additional sites, but if we don't have the money to search further out, and find that other alternative.
Because he kind of said that Surfside appears to be dredged out.
But
and
but
that's-
there's one adjacent to it that we could also
And so
look
this,
at.
we would be able to go core sample that? Okay.
Well, that's what I mean, that's what I would hope to find out.
Yeah, the problem I have with the motion is you said the items where we know there's not going to be sand. The items that have been historically analyzed, they've attributed a low possibility, low or very low possibility of sand. So
I want him to,
I hope you meant the staff report would analyze the best options.
the best options, the best
as opposed to
probability.
ignoring those
Yes,
specific locations.
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Without restricting them to the areas that they're
Yeah,
looking
I'm
at.
not restricting him.
Okay.
I'm looking for the best opportunities.
Okay, we
Yeah.
need a third for a staff report.
I'll third.
We've got three recommendations for staff report. Your next item, Victor?
The next item is on open space. We had this item come up, and this doesn't necessarily have to be done quickly, but right now, we have the weed abatement program for the first 100 feet. What I would like to explore is if we could work with some of the homeowner associations and see if there's a program that we can put together to look at the next, maybe the second 100 feet, where they were willing to pay for us to either take goats there or other clearing like the project that you had that would further build a defensible area around the homeowner's house that will make our community safe. And so I'd like to
So
explore.
expanding the current ordinance to
Yeah.
provide those options with the, I'm sorry, Mr. City Manager?
We have a plan for that, and I didn't know if you wanted to hear it now or.
Yeah, if you, before your motion's completed.
Sure.
If you have a specific plan on that recommendation?
Yeah, so there's a few things that are currently in the works.
Madam City Attorney, this is, we're discussing an item that hasn't properly been agendized.
You
Is
could
this
have a
appropriate?
very brief report if
Okay,
there's no
very
action taken.
Brief report, thank you.
I will keep it very short. So we've got a few things in the works right now to deal with the open space, weed abatement, fire prevention issues in the city. The first is due to the fire hazard severity zone map increases, city staff is anticipating that some costs for our weed abatement program will be going up. We'll be working on a new contract for those services in the coming months that will address some of those concerns. At the same time, we're also in a grant application process for a community wildfire protection plan. That plan essentially focuses on these types of large projects that will affect both private and public property and the maintenance of it in terms of vegetation management to address fuel loads for fire prevention.
What's the size of that grant, roughly?
It's about 200, and believe it's $236,000.
Thank you. Thank you. I strongly support that motion.
Just went along with it, for sure.
We have a
Motion.
a
is
second vote to agendize. Do you need a staff report? Third for a staff report? Okay. Thank you,
right.
gentlemen. Victor, anything else?
No.
Okay. Mr. Enmeyer?
It's just one thing, there's a new committee being put together with our county supervisor about sand and the $300 million that's coming in. I understand, Mr. Knobloch, you are on that committee right now. I would just like to have a general discussion about going forward. Is this going to be something that the mayor, whoever is mayor at the time, will be on this committee, or is this something that we want to appoint a council member on to be in there over numerous years? So just a general discussion of how we want to proceed with that Orange County supervisor committee.
With her supervisor's request that she form this committee to advise and that we participate in that committee.
Yes. So just general discussion, if it's going to be the mayor, is it the mayor of that year, or are we going to appoint someone from the council to be on that advisory board over numerous years? So it's just a general discussion.
Well, I mean, we don't have to lock it into the mayor. Whoever the mayor is, if they really want to do it, they can kind of do what we do on the other appointments, and defer to the mayor at that time, whoever it is, to be on it. Or
Well, that's why I think we need to have the discussion of.
You want the flexibility?
Yeah, what do we want to do going forward?
I had some concern with the Vice Chairman Foley's recommendation. You know, this is another creation of a committee to study and discuss and to collaborate on things that we are already studying and collaborating on. And there's a cost involved, and I don't know enough about this program. I was going to investigate it a little further with our office because there's a cost involved. It's another committee, another commission to just analyze what everyone's already studying. And we're going to have to share the cost. We're going to have to start paying for the county parks and beaches, Parks and Recreation Department. I'm just concerned about the overall structure, so I wasn't super excited about it to begin with, but I think we needed a little more information on the structure.
Is there a cost estimate?
No cost estimate at this point. Zero.
Mayor, I share this concern. I think we need to find out what is the expectation for the city to contribute if it's another government agency. I know Supervisor Katrina Foley has a butterfly committee. I don't believe she would charge anyone for that, but this is a difference.
The proposal says there is a cost, and we will be sharing the cost of it.
Okay.
So then that would be good to bring into this discussion
Yeah,
as well.
let's gather more information and talk about it.
Could we have you just go and get more information and come back?
Sure,
At
sure.
one of the next meetings?
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you agendizing it?
No, I'm not agendizing. I'm just asking the mayor to.
Okay, so if it gets a second, then Steve can go try to gather some information? Is that?
No, I think he can do it. He was sent the letter, so he can go do it independently. I don't think he needs to be agendized.
So all of us can go do that independently.
Anybody could talk.
And anybody can talk to her anytime. You don't need a.
What she's asking for is a specific formal appointment by this council.
Yes.
On a committee that
Okay.
maybe duplicative to a pretty large degree, but.
I think we should have the
concerns.
conversation, though, at least, of saying, do we want, as a council, do we want to have someone be part of this committee or not? And if so, what would be the parameters for that?
Well, I'd like to do some more
Yeah.
research.
Well, that's what I'm saying, let's agendize that, so that then we can come back and have that discussion. Because just doing the research on our own, we're never going to have that discussion.
Well, I can research this and report back.
Could you? Is that,
Oh.
is that okay?
Okay, but does it need to be agendized so that we can?
We can agendize it. We don't need a staff report.
No, I'm not looking for a staff, I'm
Okay,
just
well,
looking for a second.
I can report back on the council member reports,
Okay, I'll second it.
on my reporting back at the next meeting.
Yeah.
It's the council's pleasure. So the mayor can agendize something without, in collaboration with the city manager. He doesn't need to do that at this point in time. Or you can just do it in committee reports or council member reports, or have an official agenda item, however the
Well,
council
let's
wants
just
to
say
handle it.
without an agenda item, why don't I just, when I communicate with Supervisor Foley's office, and Andy and I'll get together and schedule this in due course.
I think it's already agendized by
Well,
two council members.
We didn't vote on it.
No, it's.
Oh, that's right. Well, you got a first and a second, so. Do you want me to withdraw my second, and you'll just come back with after? I'll withdraw my second with the understanding that the mayor and city manager are going to get together, and there'll be a future council report on this.
That's I can do that. Okay.
All right.
Mr. Leffler, do you have any items to agendize?
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at, I want to make this way far out, because probably until July. I'd like to have a staff, and city manager, I'm sure can do this. I'd like to know, pretending that Measure BB passed, and we started collecting sales tax in January, from January to July, I'd like an estimate of how much we would have collected.
Do you want me to bring that to a council meeting or
I
give
can-
you a memo, internal memo?
I'd like to know in July.
Okay.
No, please don't comments from the audience. So are you asking for that to be agendized? Or
You know,
you
it
just
doesn't-
want a trade report from the city manager?
Exactly, that's fine.
Yeah, you can provide that, I guess. Yeah, okay. Mr. Wu, do you have any items to agendize?
I don't.
Nor do I. Let's have council member reports. I put this at the end of the agenda because we were spending a lot of time at the beginning. I was trying to expedite the meetings, but
It's your agenda, so.
yeah.
You
want to start?
Yeah, I'll go
right ahead.
first. First, I'm going to read from the LA 28 website. Synonymous with California culture is surfing, which will be held at Trestles Beach in San Clemente, California, where athletes will enjoy the best and most consistent waves for competition in Southern California. As we've all mentioned, that's great news. And I'd like to thank Vic Knoll and Scott Kirby. That they've been the real point persons on this. They have done yeoman's work at trying to make this this happen. We have a lot of work to do still remaining in the future. We've actually met with Scott and others to talk about how, because LA wants to bring people by train here to San Clemente, not by private auto. And we should have discussions with OCTAs and others, and I think we will, on how we move people around San Clemente, the downtown area, if we could have that movement through our trolley system out to the Trestles areas. It's going to be a lot of work. I think congratulations to this city for everything they've done, and so I think it's a great first step with a lot more work to be done.
I think you buried the lead here. We're excited because the Olympics surf session is going to be here.
Yes.
Many of our San Clemente surfers will be competing, I'm sure.
Hopefully they will. Other things, April 2nd, I was asked to give a presentation to the Planning Commission. I did so the following day. I was asked to attend the California Insider program, which is a national news and television program where I met and pitched a couple of ideas. We had a presentation at the California Coastal Commission. The following day, had meetings with OCTA regarding our testimony and our request for additional sand. I participated in the leadership program for San Clemente, gave my presentation. I know all of you have done the same. I did it for law enforcement. Our sheriff, unfortunately, couldn't make it that night, but he was represented by the second in command, so it was a great presentation. We had the UC Irvine program with Dr. Brett Sanders. I'd like to thank Dr. Brett Sanders and Leslia for their hard work in making this program that we conceived almost a year ago, getting students involved in finding ways to move sand through San Clemente. I had the Cal Cities meeting where we discussed a number of pieces of legislation. A couple of them required urgency, so I've written letters on this on my own personal letterhead to the California legislature on some pretty bad pieces of legislation. I attended a chamber event at an award ceremony at Disneyland this past week. There was probably about 20-30 members, including 3 board of supervisors and many dignitaries and committee members, working with the business community in Orange County and trying to get the word out on what we're doing. Yesterday, the OCTA awarded their emergency permit. If we haven't posted any information on that, we will. I'm not pleased with what was done. Unfortunately, it looks like we're going to get a lot of revetment. We can't stop it. But the sand is an afterthought. We will continue to work with them, obviously, as all of you have directed, to try and get that sand on the beach. I think we can put ourselves in a better position, but we'll keep working individually as members of the City Council to get that message out to them. That's it.
Thank you. Mark?
Yes, I was able to, this is a great experience. Got to go to my alma mater at UC San Diego to the Global School of Policy and speak to several students from South Korea, from Japan, from China, from Vietnam, and really got to talk about San Clemente, talk about our beaches, talk about our decommissioning of songs, bike lanes, homelessness, all sorts of issues. And it was a great experience to hear from them and also how they are experiencing so many of the same issues where they are coming from as well. Also at the UCI Resilient Shores reception that you mentioned, just another great experience of having these researchers, engineers coming together and looking at tangible solutions to how to get sand on our beaches. It was fascinating and wonderful to hear from all of these students and how excited they were to present these solutions. Also had the chance to go visit the goats with my family. It was fantastic. Thank you to Mike Kay and all that he's doing there. And he was here earlier, but I don't see him now. Yeah, and it was fantastic just to see what those goats are doing. So,
Steve, the donkey, Steve?
Here's real ass. Sorry.
Okay, I met with Senator Blakespear regarding strategies to obtain sand in the thought that maybe OCTA wasn't going to come through like we had hoped, and floated the idea about participating with Sandag, perhaps, in the future to help us all get sand in northern San Diego and us. So she was very receptive to that. What that happens, we will have to see. Attended the Beaches and Parks and Orange County Fire Authority City Leadership Program class. That's always good. The great people that come out and take that. Met with the Marblehead HOA and toured the canyon north of Pico down there, where for fire mitigation, it's incredible. You wouldn't even know you're in San Clemente if you went down there. You'd think you're in Cleveland National Forest. There's so much vegetation. So trying to find a strategy to help with that, although it's their property.
Did you see the place where the
I did.
deceased,
I
homeless
saw
was
it was
camped
quite
out?
the condo there that they had. He had down there, and I know they removed a bunch of propane tanks. Could have been a real issue down. Unfortunate for the passing away, but probably good that we were able to locate it. Attended the Chamber of Commerce Board Community Update Luncheon, and along with Jonathan Lightfoot, updated the Chamber in regards to city projects. Attended a meet and greet mixer for real estate agent and brokers on Del Mar at Luxor Real Estate. Attended the UCI Students Coastal Resiliency update also at Ole Hansen. Then I left and went over to Lori Davies' fire mitigation workshop. I didn't realize, when I walked in, I was just going to listen. I didn't realize that we were actually one of the hosts of that. And so they said, well, you're going to speak for 5 minutes. I said, I'm really not. They said, talk about the goats. And that's exactly what I did. It was a hit, and we also had several San Clemente residents there, so it was a good event. Attended the 30th anniversary of the Siren Hair Salon in Del Mar. 30 years they've been in business down there. That's incredible. And then a new business, the Aura Skincare up on Del Mar. They had their ribbon cutting for a new business. Met with Seascape residents in regard to proposed pedestrian, what do you call that thing in the middle? You know, what's the middle thing to slow down traffic? Pedestrian median? Is that what that's called? What is it? Pedestrian island. Pedestrian island.
Oh, island.
Okay. It's on Miracosta. I think the residents are going to be real happy with that, making a little safe haven when they cross the street with the park. And then I met with some Shorecliff residents with Victor Cabral and Andy Hall regarding some errant golf balls that are just crazy getting sliced up there and denting cars and whatever. Also want to give a shout out to our police chief, Chevalier. Had a couple of instances to communicate with him, and his response has been incredible. But I also want to acknowledge that the bar started getting set pretty high when we had Tony Benfield here a few years ago, and then was even raised more with Jay Christian when he was here. Some outstanding police service, and it's getting raised even higher for Chief Chevalier, which is really good because when he leaves us, and he's going to be a commander pretty soon. But when he leaves us, he's set the bar where it's really going to be some big shoes to fill, but we're going to expect that they do that. So again, shout out to Orange County Sheriffs.
Zen, did you have a presentation?
Very briefly, I was out of town for much of the time, so I don't really have much activity to report. I do want to clarify about the OCTA project. The California Coastal Commission only approved the OCTA project at area 1 through 3, which is in front of Mariposa. This portion of the work includes 5,100 cubic yards of rock, along with 240,000 cubic yards of sand. The engineered revetment is in area 4, which is in front of the State Beach. That portion of the project was not approved by the Coastal Commission underneath the emergency process.
Okay. I also attended the UCI collaboration meeting with the engineers, the graduate students. And Victor, thank you for coordinating that last year to put that together, so we're getting the benefit from it now. Thank you. Very interesting meeting. The GOAT project that we talked about, the pilot program ended today. So we're going to need to discuss what we do for reducing the fire fuel. And I didn't really cover that on future agenda items, gentlemen, but do we want to agendize it to
I think it's going to be part of
the fire?
The fire mitigation.
Okay, so
yeah.
that where we go in the future with goats, that'll be included, so that's covered, good. Good. The City Selection Committee selected a couple of mayors from our county to be recommended appointees to the California Coastal Commission. I and the former mayor of Newport Beach were selected to have our names passed on to the Senate Rules Committee for possible appointment. Quite frankly, not real optimistic, but I'm hopeful that, you never know. So it'd be nice to be on the Coastal Commission and represent San Clemente there.
Great.
Pardon me?
It'd be great.
It would be great if it happens. Time will tell. So I was honored to be selected for that. Yesterday, we attended, the city manager and I attended a meeting with the Border and Customs Patrol people. We interviewed, we toured a number of sites in San Clemente where we might have cameras located to assist in the pongas that have been coming ashore. In Los Angeles, Orange County, over the last 6 months or so, there have been 27 landings. 14 of them have been here in San Clemente. So it's an ongoing issue. They're excited about placing the cameras. Where we are now, and the next steps is we're just getting technical data on the type of camera, the scope, the technical details on how and where to place those. And they'll be reporting back with a cost component. We're looking for some grant money to cover the costs. And then who's going to man them, and that discussion is going to be coming forward. But first we have to identify the technology, where they're located, and the cost. They're putting that together, and we should be hopefully reporting back fairly soon on that. When I say fairly soon, I mean the next month or so, hopefully. I think that about covers it.
I had one more event, and I'd like to close this meeting out with, when we get to that point, with I was invited to attend the LDS Palm Sunday concert up at their ward, and it was, Easter season, and so it was a great concert, and I was glad to be invited.
Thank you. Okay, City Attorney, do you have any reports to make?
Thank you. I do not accept that it's a pleasure to serve the city of San Clemente.
Thank you very much. Mr. City Manager, do you have a report for us?
I do. I'm fortunate. This is the second time I've had the opportunity to be involved in the Olympics, and we're in for a treat. It's going to be a lot of fun, especially if we approach it the right way. It's going to be something really, really exciting and really unique for our community. And believe me, once your community is labeled as part of the Olympics, it never goes away. And people will always want to come here from all over the world and surf in San Clemente, be part of that. So really looking forward to working with you and our community and the Olympic movement. It's going to be a lot of fun.
On our 100th birthday.
On our 100th birthday, that's right. It's gonna really be. It's just
well, mine, not yours.
The city's 100th birthday. That's right. Only Rick knows. You were the only one here when they did.
Olie's project.
1932 in LA was great.
The other thing I wanted to say is that a lot of things go into these meetings that the public don't see, and there's a lot that happens behind the scene. And I want to commend the City Council on what was some very difficult situations that you worked through tonight. It's not as easy as some people might think. So I just really want to compliment the council. It's challenging sometimes to move through those issues, but I know you have the best interests of the community in mind, and I'm glad that we're going to be able to work together for many years to come. The other thing I wanted to mention, and it was clarified a little bit, OCTA has been a very good partner to us. Their plan is fantastic. If the whole plan was implemented, the plan is fantastic. I think the frustration lies in that if the plan is bifurcated or separated into separate sections, it's not as effective. And that's our frustration, I believe. So I want to make sure that the frustration is pointed in the right direction. And that's having what was a very well-planned and comprehensive plan split into pieces. And that's very frustrating because those pieces really need to go together for the plan to be effective. And I think OCTA shares our frustration. They went to a lot of work to do that. But we'll find a way to work through it. And I appreciate that the council is so engaged in that particular issue. But there are a few contracts, Mayor, and I'll move through those very quickly. First Amendment with Digital Mapping Incorporated, providing aerial data collection services in an amount not to exceed $56,393.01. Michael Baker International for providing a biological survey in the amount of $33.60. Kelso and Associates providing preparation of legal documents for grant of easement for the storm drain and sanitary sewer for Cypress Shore in the amount of $92.10. Financial Credit Network providing for collection agency services in the amount of $5,000 annually. Engineering Solution Services for the Costero Risco Pressure Reducing Station rehabilitation in the amount of $25,750, and the BOA Architecture for providing for San Clemente Community Center restroom rehabilitation in the amount of $28,000.
Quick question on your biologic contract. Was that ocean-related biologic, or is that?
I'm going to have to refer to Dave, who is sleeping in row 9.
We've been talking a lot about water and sand, and I just wondered if that related.
I'm not exactly sure what work that was.
No, if Dave's coming, it's learning the bacteria in the sewer system.
Yeah, I'm trying to define which project this one is for. I'm not entirely sure. It's a small contract amount, but I can check with staff and get back to you on it.
Yeah, if you could just do a trade report. It was fairly large. I think it was 56,000. I was just curious what that was. Just a brief note to us would be appreciated.
Oh, the biological survey, I'm sorry, was $33.60. If I misspoke. $3,360. I apologize. $3,360. I go through those too fast.
I thought that was the biologic.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Victor, you want to make a motion for adjournment?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Maybe you have something or others have something. This is, it reminded me this past Palm Sunday that in two religions, this is one of the holiest weeks in these religions, both Passover for certain religions and Easter. And this is the week that Christians and Jews celebrate.
We celebrate the resurrection of our Lord.
And so I just want to remind people, and there's a lot of young people that are on vacation and people out, but I just want to remind people that these are two holy weeks, and I'd like to adjourn in recognition of those two significant holidays.
You want to make the motion?
I so move.
You need to give the date and time.
Oh, I got to give the date. We have a new date, yeah.
Would you like me to read it, Councilmember Cabral?
Pardon?
Would you like me to read?
Sure.
Okay. The next regular city council meeting is scheduled to take place on May 6, 2025. Closed session will begin at 4:30 p.m. and the regular business meeting will begin at 5:30 p.m. The meeting will take place in the council chambers located at 910 Cali Negocio, second floor, San Clemente.
Motion adjourned by Mr. Cabral. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.